Welcome back to Infidelity Tales Lab. We're incredibly grateful for your support. Before we begin today's tale, tell us, which city or country are you joining us from? We love connecting with our global audience. Now, let's dive into today's story. Chapter 1. The Man in the Shadows. The autumn rain pattered against the windshield of Wade Donovan's weathered pickup truck as he sat parked across from Pearson Tower. It was almost midnight, but the top floors still blazed with light. Another lavish party hosted by Floyd Pearson, real estate mogul and the man who had stolen Wade's wife 8 years ago. Wade's calloused fingers tightened around the steering wheel. He wasn't here to reminisce. He was here because of the envelope that had arrived that morning. A wedding invitation embossed with gold leaf and reeking of expensive perfume. His daughter Brooke was getting married in 3 weeks to some hotshot lawyer from Floyd's firm. At 52, Wade looked older than his years. His once muscular frame had grown leaner, his dark hair now streaked with silver at the temples. The scar that ran from his right eye to his jawline had faded to a pale line, a souvenir from his last military operation in Kandahar. 15 years in Special Forces intelligence had taught Wade patience, observation, and how to become invisible. Skills that had served him well until a Taliban ambush left him with a shattered leg and medically discharged. He could still remember Veronica's face when he returned home. Not relief or love, disappointment. She'd married a rising star in military intelligence with promising career prospects. Instead, she got a broken man with PTSD and a disability pension. "You've changed," she'd said one night, her voice cold as she packed her bags. "You're not the man I married. Floyd says he can get you a job at one of his companies, but you're too proud to accept help." Pride. The only thing he had left after everything else was taken from him. His phone buzzed with a text message. It was from Theo Sullivan, his only friend from the old days who hadn't abandoned him. A former communications specialist who now ran a cybersecurity firm in downtown Denver. "Got what you asked for. You sure about this, brother?" Wade typed back, "Send it." A moment later, his phone chimed with an email notification. Attached were surveillance photos of Floyd and Veronica's penthouse, detailed schedules of their daily movements, and something else. Financial records showing mysterious payments to a shell company called Sentinel Holdings. Wade had suspected for years that Floyd's real estate empire wasn't built entirely on legitimate investments. The man had risen too quickly, acquired too much land in too many prime locations. Now he finally had a thread to pull. His phone rang. Brooke. He hesitated before answering. "Dad." Her voice sounded small, uncertain. "Hey, sweetheart." He tried to keep his voice steady, normal. "Did you get the invitation?" "I did." "And?" Wade closed his eyes. "I'll be there. Mom says you won't come. She says you still can't stand being in the same room as her and Floyd." "Your mother is wrong about a lot of things." Silence stretched between them, filled with unspoken questions. "Dad, they want to make a speech at the reception. About family. They asked me if it would upset you." Wade's jaw tightened. "Tell them I'm looking forward to it." After hanging up, he stared at the glittering tower before starting his truck. As he pulled away, he didn't notice the black SUV that eased into traffic behind him. The following morning, Wade limped into his modest office in an industrial part of town. The sign on the door read, "Donovan Security Consultations." The business barely kept him afloat. Most clients went to bigger firms with fancier addresses and younger consultants without visible scars. Today's appointment was with a Mrs. Winters, who needed a security assessment for her art gallery. When she walked in, Wade was struck by her composure. Mid-40s, auburn hair swept into a practical bun, sharp eyes that missed nothing. "Mr. Donovan? I'm Laurel Winters." Her handshake was firm, professional. She didn't stare at his scar or limp, a refreshing change. "You have an impressive military record," she said, studying his framed commendations on the wall. "Special Forces intelligence. That's rare. How did you know about my military background?" Wade hadn't included those details on his business website. She smiled. "I do my research before hiring anyone." Throughout their meeting, Wade couldn't shake the feeling that Laurel Winters wasn't really there about gallery security. His suspicions were confirmed when she slid a thumb drive across his desk as she was leaving. "I believe you'll find this interesting." particularly regarding Floyd Pearson's development project in River North. Before he could respond, she was gone, leaving only a faint trace of sandalwood perfume. The thumb drive contained hundreds of files, property records, bank statements, and emails between Floyd and a man named Reuben Blackwell. The emails discussed leveraging political connections to rezone protected wetlands for a luxury development. One mentioned neutralizing the conservationist problem. 2 days later, Wade found himself parked outside Brooke's apartment, debating whether to share what he discovered. Their relationship had fractured after the divorce. Veronica had painted him as unstable, potentially violent. Brooke, 16 at the time, had chosen to live with her mother in Floyd's mansion rather than in Wade's small apartment. Before he could decide, Brooke emerged from her building, accompanied by a tall man with perfectly styled hair and a custom suit, her fiancé, Preston Walsh. They looked like a magazine cover, young and affluent. She laughed at something he said, her head tilting back in a way that reminded Wade painfully of Veronica. He started the truck and drove away. Some battles weren't worth fighting. That night, Wade dreamed of Kandahar again. The ambush, the explosion, the teammate he couldn't save. He woke gasping, sheets soaked with sweat, reaching instinctively for the weapon he no longer kept by his bed. As dawn broke, Wade made a decision. He opened his laptop and began sorting through the files Laurel had provided, creating a timeline of Floyd's activities. Whatever the man was involved in, it was bigger than just for zoning wetlands. His phone pinged with a text from an unknown number. They know you're looking. Watch your back. Wade felt a familiar calm settle over him, the same clarity he'd experienced in combat situations. He was being watched. Good. That meant he was on the right track. He reached for his go bag in the closet, felt the weight of his backup phone and emergency cash. Then he called Theo. I need to disappear for a while, and I need you to keep digging into Sentinel Holdings. Wade, Theo's voice was serious. What exactly are you planning? Wade looked at the wedding invitation, still sitting on his kitchen counter. Justice. Chapter 2. The Spider's Web. The Ritz-Carlton ballroom sparkled with crystal chandeliers and floral arrangements that cost more than Wade's monthly rent. He stood at the back, nursing a glass of sparkling water, watching as Denver's elite mingled and congratulated the young couple. Brooke was radiant in her wedding gown, though she kept glancing nervously toward the entrance. Looking for him, Wade realized. He'd arrived late deliberately, slipping in during the ceremony's final moments. The last 3 weeks had been productive. Thanks to Theo's hacking skills and Laurel's mysterious files, Wade had uncovered a complex web connecting Floyd to Senator Philip Aldridge and a series of land deals that had displaced an entire neighborhood of working-class families. You came. The voice behind him was unmistakable Veronica. She looked immaculate as always, her blonde hair arranged in an elegant updo, diamonds glittering at her throat and ears. Time had barely touched her. I promised Brooke, he replied simply. Veronica's perfect smile didn't reach her eyes. Floyd was certain you wouldn't show. He bet me a trip to Bora Bora. Sorry to cost you a vacation. Her laugh was practiced, musical. Oh, I'll still get my trip. Floyd never denies me anything. She leaned closer, her expensive perfume enveloping him. Unlike some people, Wade kept his expression neutral. Congratulations on the wedding. Preston seems suitable. He's going to be made partner of Floyd's firm next month. Their first child is due in December. She examined Wade's face for any reaction. You're going to be a grandfather, though I'm not sure Brooke wants you involved. Before Wade could respond, Floyd appeared at Veronica's side, possessively wrapping an arm around her waist. He'd aged well, his silver hair and tailored tuxedo projecting power and confidence. Wade, what a surprise. His handshake was too firm, a subtle power play. I hope there are no hard feelings after all these years. Water under the bridge, right? Of course, Wade replied with a practiced smile. Some bridges just need to be burned. Floyd's smile tightened. Enjoy the reception. I've arranged a special tribute for the family later. Very touching. As they walked away, Wade spotted Dominic Vasquez watching him from across the room. Vasquez had been Floyd's head of security for years, a former cop with a reputation for solving problems permanently. Their eyes met briefly before Vasquez touched his earpiece and disappeared into the crowd. Wade made his way to the bar, where he found Theo already waiting with a bourbon in hand. "Nice tux for a guy who lives in his mom's basement," Wade commented. Theo grinned, adjusting his glasses. "It's my own condo, thank you very much. And you clean up pretty well yourself, for a hermit." His expression grew serious. "Everything's set up. Are you sure about this? There's no coming back from it." Wade watched as Brooke and Preston shared their first dance, surrounded by applauding guests. "I'm sure." At the head table, Floyd was now speaking with Senator Aldridge, their heads close together. Veronica sat beside them, laughing at something Preston's father said. They looked untouchable, these people who had taken everything from him. "Dad," Brooke had appeared beside him, beautiful and uncertain. "You came." Wade smiled, genuine emotion breaking through his careful control. "I wouldn't miss it, sweetheart." She hugged him awkwardly, trying not to wrinkle her dress. "Thank you. It means a lot." "Are you happy?" he asked softly. Brooke hesitated. "Preston is a good man. He'll provide a stable future." "That doesn't answer my question." She looked away. "Mom says you've been asking questions about Floyd's business, that you're trying to cause trouble." Wade kept his voice even. "Is that what she told you?" "She said you never got over the divorce, that you blame Floyd for everything that went wrong in your life." Brooke's eyes were pleading. "Please don't make a scene tonight. It's my wedding day. I'm just here to celebrate with you." Wade assured her, hating the lie. Preston appeared, claiming Brooke for photos. She squeezed Wade's hand before leaving, a gesture that reminded him of when she was little and would hold his finger while crossing the street. The reception continued with speeches, toasts, and cake cutting. Wade remained on the periphery, watching, calculating, waiting. Finally, Floyd tapped a spoon against a champagne glass, calling for attention. Beside him, a large screen descended from the ceiling. "Before we continue the celebration, I wanted to share something special," Floyd announced. "A tribute to family and new beginnings." The lights dimmed. Wade tensed, hands slipping into his pocket to grip his phone. The screen illuminated with a photograph of Wade, not a flattering one. It showed him slumped on a park bench, unshaven, his disability evident. Bold text appeared beneath it. "Infertile divorce failure. High school dropout, low income, single." Gasps and uncomfortable titters spread through the ballroom. Brooke's face drained of color. Preston looked confused. Veronica covered her mouth in mock shock, eyes dancing with cruel amusement. Floyd continued, his voice dripping with false sympathy. "While some men allow adversity to defeat them, others rise above their circumstances. This contrast is what makes blended families so complex, yet so rewarding." Laughter rippled through the crowd, nervous but present. Wade remained perfectly still. Veronica couldn't contain herself. "Don't laugh too much. He might cry." Floyd sipped his wine, smiling indulgently at his wife's cruelty. Beside them, Senator Aldridge chuckled appreciatively. Brooke stood, her face flushed with embarrassment or anger. Wade couldn't tell which. "Just a joke, right?" she said loudly, looking between her mother and Wade. That was the cue he'd been waiting for. Wade slowly walked toward the front of the room, all eyes following him. He took out his phone and pressed a single button. "Begin," he said clearly. The screen behind Floyd flickered, then changed. Now it showed security footage of Floyd and Veronica in their penthouse, plotting. "The wedding reception is perfect," Floyd was saying. "Everyone who matters will be there. We'll humiliate him so thoroughly he'll never show his face in Denver again." "What about Brooke?" Veronica asked. "She'll be upset initially, but she's practical. She knows where her bread is buttered." The footage abruptly switched to a different scene. Floyd in his office with Dominic Vasquez, and a third man Wade now knew was Martin Frost, a local environmental activist who had opposed Floyd's wetland development. "I don't care how you handle Frost," Floyd was saying. "Just make sure it can't be traced back to me." Vasquez nodded. "It'll look like a mugging gone wrong." The room had gone deathly silent. Floyd lunged for the screen controls, but they weren't responding. A third clip began playing, Senator Aldridge accepting a briefcase from Floyd. The zoning commission won't be a problem anymore, the senator said. But this makes us even. Wade walked calmly to the center of the ballroom. I believe the police will find this footage interesting, Floyd, along with the financial records showing how you've been bribing officials and threatening anyone who stands in your way. Floyd's face contorted with rage. You think anyone will believe you? A washed-up ex-soldier with a grudge? I'll bury you. Wade smiled. Everything has already been sent to the FBI, the Denver Post, and every TV station in Colorado. But that's not even the best part. He turned to face the stunned crowd. For the past month, Floyd's security systems have been compromised. Every conversation, meeting, threat has been recorded. He looked directly at Veronica, including discussions about what really happened to Martin Frost. Veronica went pale. Floyd, he's bluffing. The screen changed again, showing Veronica and Floyd in their bedroom. What if they connect Martin's disappearance to us? She was asking, panic in her voice. They won't, Floyd assured her. Dominic handled it. The body will never be found. The ballroom erupted in chaos. Preston's parents were pulling him and Brooke away. Guests were hurriedly leaving. Senator Aldridge was already on his phone, likely calling his lawyer. Wade stood in the center of it all, calm as the eye of a hurricane. Floyd lunged at him, face purple with rage, but was immediately restrained by hotel security. You're dead, he screamed. You hear me? Dead. Brooke pushed through the crowd. Her wedding dress crumpled, tears streaming down her face. Dad, what have you done? Wade met her gaze steadily. Why should have done years ago? As police sirens wailed in the distance, Veronica approached him, her perfect composure finally cracking. You've destroyed everything, she hissed. No, Wade corrected her. You and Floyd did that yourselves. I just shined a light on the truth. The ballroom doors burst open as police officers flooded in, led by a woman Wade recognized, Detective Marina Rodriguez, the lead investigator on Martin Frost's disappearance case. Behind her was Laurel Winters, now wearing an FBI windbreaker. As Floyd and Veronica were handcuffed and read their rights, Wade slipped quietly out a side door. His revenge wasn't complete yet. It was just beginning. Chapter 3, The Awakening. 3 days after the wedding reception, Wade sat across from Laurel Winters in a nondescript federal building downtown. Her FBI credentials lay on the table between them. You've been investigating Floyd Pearson for 2 years, Wade said. It wasn't a question. Laurel nodded. Money laundering, racketeering, bribery. But we couldn't get close enough to gather conclusive evidence. His security was too tight. Until I came along. We knew about your background and intelligence. Your skills in electronic surveillance and counterintelligence. And your personal motivation. She leaned forward. What I didn't anticipate was how thoroughly you'd infiltrate his systems. Wade shrugged. Floyd always underestimated me. He saw a broken-down ex-soldier, not a threat. That's what made you perfect. Laurel pushed a folder across the table. We've confirmed Martin Frost's remains were found exactly where your surveillance indicated. The DNA matched. Wade felt no satisfaction at the news, only a grim vindication. Martin Frost had been a 28-year-old environmental scientist whose only crime was opposing Floyd's destruction of protected wetlands. His disappearance 3 years ago had been briefly investigated, then forgotten, another loose end in Floyd's rise to power. What happens now? Wade asked. Floyd and Veronica will be charged with conspiracy to commit murder, among other things. Senator Aldridge is cooperating in exchange for leniency. Dominic Vasquez has disappeared, but we're tracking him. Laurel studied Wade's face. You could face charges for illegal surveillance, but given the circumstances and your cooperation, we're willing to offer immunity. Wade nodded, unsurprised. He'd known the potential consequences when he started. There's something else, Laurel continued. We found evidence in Floyd's files that he manipulated your medical discharge from the military. He had contacts in the medical review board. Wade went still. What are you saying? I'm saying your career might not have ended if not for Floyd's interference. He wanted you sidelined because he saw you as an obstacle to getting Veronica. The revelation hit Wade like a physical blow. He'd always believed his discharge was legitimate, that his injuries and PTSD had made him unfit for continued service. The knowledge that it had been orchestrated added a new dimension to Floyd's betrayal. "Does Brooke know any of this?" he asked finally. Laurel's expression softened slightly. "We haven't approached her yet, but she'll need to make a statement eventually." Outside the federal building, Wade found Theo waiting in his car. They drove in silence for several blocks before Theo spoke. "I heard from my contact at the Post. The story breaks tomorrow, front page. Floyd's empire is finished." Wade stared out the window, watching the city pass by. "Did you know about the medical discharge? That Floyd was behind it." Theo's grip tightened on the steering wheel. "I suspected. That's why I kept trying to get you to fight it all those years ago. You should have told me. Would it have made a difference? You were in a dark place, Wade. You might not have survived reopening that wound." They pulled up outside Wade's apartment building. Before getting out, Wade asked, "Have you heard from Brooke?" Theo shook his head. "She's staying with Preston's parents. Not taking calls." The next week passed in a blur of depositions, media speculation, and sleepless nights. Floyd and Veronica's arrest dominated local news, with new revelations emerging daily about the extent of their corruption. The Pearson Group's stock plummeted, and projects across the city halted as investors fled. Wade stayed in his apartment, avoiding reporters and processing what Laurel had told him about his discharge. He'd spent years believing he was broken, unfit. The truth was both liberating and devastating. On the 8th day, there was a knock at his door. When he opened it, Brooke stood there, pale and composed in a simple black dress. "May I come in?" she asked formally, as if speaking to a stranger. Wade stepped aside. "Of course." She entered cautiously, noting the sparse furnishings and military precision of his living space. There were no personal photographs except one. Brooke at her high school graduation. "You've been avoiding my calls," he said. "I needed time." She remained standing, arms crossed protectively. "Preston's family has hired lawyers. They're trying to distance him from Floyd's business dealings. And the wedding? Postponed indefinitely." She met his gaze directly. "You planned this all along, didn't you? Using my wedding as the stage for your revenge." Wade didn't insult her intelligence by denying it. "Yes. Why? Why not just go to the FBI with what you knew?" "Because Floyd would have buried it. He had too many connections, too much influence. It needed to be public, undeniable. At my wedding." Her voice cracked slightly. "In front of everyone I care about." Wade stepped closer, but stopped when she tensed. "I'm sorry for how it happened, Brooke, but not for what I did. Floyd and your mother destroyed lives. Martin Frost had a family, too." Brooke sank onto the couch, suddenly looking exhausted. "Mom called from jail yesterday. She says you manipulated everything, that the recordings were doctored. You know that's not true." "Do I?" She looked up, eyes red-rimmed. "I don't know what to believe anymore. My entire life feels like a lie." Wade sat beside her, careful to maintain space between them. "I never lied to you, Brooke, even when the truth would have been easier. The FBI agent, Winters, she came to see me yesterday. She said Mom knew about Martin, that she helped cover it up." Brooke's voice was barely audible. "How could she do that?" "Your mother made choices," Wade said gently. "For money, status, power. She chose Floyd and everything he represented over." "Over you," Brooke finished. "Over us." They sat in silence for a long moment. "There's going to be a trial," Brooke finally said. "They want me to testify. You don't have to decide anything now." She stood, gathering her composure. "I should go. Preston is waiting downstairs." At the door, she paused. "Dad, that night, at the reception, when Mom and Floyd were humiliating you, you didn't look surprised. You looked ready." Wade met her gaze steadily. "I've spent 8 years being underestimated by them. It gave me an advantage. Was it worth it? Destroying everyone's lives?" "Not everyone's," Wade corrected quietly. "Just those who deserved it." After she left, Wade stood at his window watching until Preston's car pulled away. His phone buzzed with a text from Laurel. "Dominic Vasquez spotted in Tucson. Moving in tomorrow." Wade's revenge wasn't complete, not by a long shot. Floyd and Veronica's arrest was just the beginning. There were others involved, people who had enabled their corruption and profited from it. The web was extensive, and Wade intended to dismantle it entirely. He pulled out the burner phone he'd kept hidden and dialed a number from memory. "It's me." he said when the line connected. I need your help with phase 2. The voice on the other end chuckled. I was wondering when you'd call. The gang's getting back together then? Wade looked at his reflection in the window. Older, scarred, but no longer broken. Yes, he said. It's time to finish what we started. The true awakening had begun. Chapter 4. Ghosts of the Past. The safe house was exactly as Wade remembered it. A rustic cabin nestled in the dense pine forests of the Rocky Mountains, far from cell service and prying eyes. As he pulled up the winding dirt road, he spotted 2 vehicles already parked beside the woodpile. Theo's sensible Subaru and an unmarked black SUV he didn't recognize. Inside, the cabin smelled of wood smoke and coffee. 3 people looked up as he entered. Theo, seated at a laptop, a muscular woman with short gray hair whom Wade instantly recognized as Sergeant Maggie Renshaw, his former demolitions expert, and a lean, dark-skinned man who rose. Elias Kamari, the best sniper Wade had ever commanded. Look what the cat dragged in, Wrench said, a rare smile creasing her weathered face. Thought you'd gone civilian on us, Chief. Tried to, Wade replied, clasping her shoulder. Didn't take. Elias stepped forward, offering a firm handshake. Good to see you, sir. Been too long. Wade hadn't seen either of them since the hospital in Germany after the Kandahar ambush. They'd visited once before being redeployed, promising to stay in touch. Like so many promises from that time, it had faded under the weight of his depression and Veronica's abandonment. I'm sorry I dropped off the radar, Wade said simply. Wrench waved away his apology. We kept tabs on you. Knew you'd call when you needed us. And now he has, Theo interjected, turning his laptop so everyone could see. On the screen was a map with a blinking red dot. That's Dominic Vasquez. FBI has him under surveillance in Tucson, but they're hanging back. Seems our agent Winters wants to see where he leads them. Wade studied the screen. Vasquez knows too much about Floyd's operation. He's either looking for leverage to negotiate with the feds or planning to eliminate loose ends. My money's on the latter, Elias said. Men like Vasquez don't cooperate. They survive. They spent the next hour updating Wade on what they discovered since his call. Theo had been monitoring communications between Floyd's associates, tracking the scramble as they tried to distance themselves from the scandal. Wrench and Elias had been vetting the evidence Wade had collected, identifying key players and vulnerabilities. There's something else you should see, Theo said, pulling up a different file. Remember how Floyd got Veronica that curator position at the Denver Art Museum 5 years ago? Turns out the museum's been used to launder money from Floyd's overseas investors. Wade studied the financial records on the screen, and the FBI doesn't know about this. They suspect, but can't prove it yet. The paper trail is elaborate. Veronica would have known, Wade said, remembering how meticulously she'd always managed their finances. She's smarter than Floyd in some ways. More careful. Speaking of careful, Wrench said, your daughter was followed yesterday after leaving your apartment. 2 men in a gray sedan. They kept their distance, but definitely surveillance. Wade tensed. Floyd's people. More likely reporters, Theo said. But we're keeping an eye on her just in case. The cabin door opened, admitting a gust of cold mountain air and another familiar face, Dr. Vivian Cole, the team's former medical officer. Her auburn hair was streaked with silver now, but her eyes were as sharp as ever. Sorry I'm late, she said, stomping snow from her boots. Mountain passes are treacherous this time of year. She spotted Wade and stopped short. Well, the prodigal commander returns. Their parting had been more personal than with the others. Vivian had tried to help him through the worst of his depression after the discharge, but he'd pushed her away along with everyone else. Hello, Viv, he said quietly. She assessed him with a clinical eye. You look like hell, Wade. Still having nightmares. Only about my ex-wife. That earned him a reluctant smile. I saw the news. Bold move, even for you. It was necessary. Vivian nodded, setting down her medical bag. Usually is with you. She turned to the others. So what's the plan? I assume we're not just having a reunion. Wade moved to the center of the room. Despite 8 years as a civilian, the role of commander settled around him like a familiar coat. Floyd and Veronica are in custody, but their network remains intact. corrupt officials, business partners, enforcers like Vasquez. They've hurt a lot of people, and justice through the legal system will be slow and incomplete. He pointed to the map. We start with Vasquez. He's the key to unraveling the rest of Floyd's operation. And what exactly do you plan to do when you find him? Vivian asked. We're not assassins, Wade. No, Wade agreed. We're something better. We're ghosts. He turned to Theo. Show them. Theo pulled up a new file. Personnel records of every major player in Floyd's organization, along with their weaknesses, vices, and secrets. We don't kill them, Wade explained. We destroy what they value most. Their reputations, their power, their freedom. We turn them against each other. Psychological warfare, Elias said with approval. Like Azerbaijan. Wade nodded. Exactly like Azerbaijan. They spent the rest of the day planning, each falling into their old roles with practiced ease. Theo handled intelligence and digital surveillance. Wrench focused on logistics and equipment. Elias developed approaches and exit strategies. Vivian assessed psychological vulnerabilities. And Wade did what he'd always done best. He saw the bigger picture, the interconnected weaknesses that could bring down an entire network. As night fell, the others retired to their assigned rooms in the cabin, leaving Wade alone by the dying fire. He was studying the dossier on Roland Mercer, Floyd's oldest friend and business partner, when he sensed a presence behind him. Couldn't sleep? Vivian asked, settling into the adjacent armchair. Haven't tried yet. She studied him in the firelight. This isn't just about justice, is it? It's about Brooke, too. Wade set down the file. Floyd and Veronica poisoned her against me for years. Made her believe I was unstable, dangerous. And this crusade will change her mind? Vivian's tone was skeptical. No, Wade admitted, but it might give her the truth. She deserves that much. Vivian leaned forward. What about you, Wade? What do you deserve? That's not the point, isn't it? She sighed. I'm concerned about you. This kind of focused vengeance, it consumes people. I know my limits. Do you? Vivian's gaze was penetrating. 8 years ago, you shut everyone out, refused help, nearly drank yourself to death. I'm not that man anymore. No, she agreed. You're something potentially more dangerous, a man with nothing left to lose. Before Wade could respond, Theo appeared in the doorway, his expression urgent. We've got movement. Vasquez is on the road heading south. And he's not alone. Back at the operations table, they watched the tracking data update in real time. The red dot representing Vasquez was now accompanied by a second marker. Who's with him? Wade asked. Theo pulled up a grainy image from traffic camera. Reuben Blackwell, Floyd's financial advisor, the one who set up all the shell companies. They're running, Wrench concluded. Probably heading for Mexico. Or tying up loose ends first, Elias suggested. Vasquez knows where the bodies are buried. Literally. Wade studied the map. They're following Interstate 10. There's an airstrip near Casa Grande, owned by one of Floyd's companies. He turned to the team. We need to move now. Within 30 minutes, they were mobilized. Wrench and Elias headed out in the SUV to intercept Vasquez and Blackwell. Theo remained at the cabin to coordinate surveillance and communications. Vivian prepared a medical kit, just in case. Wade and Vivian took his truck, following a parallel route to reach the airstrip before their targets. Just like old times, Vivian remarked as they sped down the mountain roads. Except no one's shooting at us yet. Yet being the operative word. She checked her phone. Laurel says the FBI is holding position. They want to see who else shows up. Wade glanced at her. You're in contact with Agent Winters? We go back. She's the one who reached out after your wedding stunt made the news. Vivian gave him a calculating look. Did you really think I just happened to be available for your revenge mission? You're working with the FBI? Wade kept his eyes on the road, processing this new information. Let's say our interests temporarily align. They want Floyd's network dismantled. So do we. She paused. The difference is in the methods. And they're comfortable with our methods? Vivian smiled thinly. They've adopted a don't ask, don't tell policy. As long as we don't break any major laws they can't ignore. By dawn, they had reached the airstrip, a small, private facility surrounded by desert. Wade parked behind an abandoned hangar where they had a clear view of the main runway. His phone buzzed with a message from Elias. Target ETA 20 minutes. Now we wait, Wade said, settling into surveillance mode. While we're waiting, Vivian said casually, there's something else you should know. About Brooke. Wade tensed. What about her? She's been asking questions. About her mother, about Floyd. About what really happened when you were discharged. How do you know this? Because she called me 3 days ago. Vivian met his surprised look. She found my number in your old military records. She's resourceful, your daughter. Wade absorbed this information. What did you tell her? The truth. That her father was a good man who got a raw deal. That Floyd Pearson manipulated your medical review to get you out of the picture. Vivian's expression softened. She's trying to make sense of everything, Wade. She needs you to be honest with her. Before Wade could respond, headlights appeared on the access road. A black Range Rover approached the airstrip, moving cautiously. That's them, Wade said, focusing his binoculars. The vehicle parked near a small Cessna that waited on the tarmac. 2 men emerged, Vasquez, stocky and vigilant, and a slender, older man Wade recognized as Reuben Blackwell. They've got bags, Vivian observed. Definitely running. Wade's phone vibrated with an update from Wrench. In position. South perimeter. Let's move, Wade said, checking his non-lethal equipment. Zip ties, stun gun, voice recorder. Remember, we need them alive and talking. Vivian nodded, slipping a small kit into her pocket. 1 dose of this, and they'll tell us everything they know. FDA approved, mostly. They circled the hangar, approaching from the blind spot created by the aircraft's fuselage. Vasquez was doing a pre-flight check, while Blackwell nervously scanned the horizon. Wade's earpiece crackled. Movement on the North Road, Theo reported. Unknown vehicle approaching fast. Wade froze, reassessing. This wasn't part of the plan. A sleek black Mercedes roared onto the airstrip, skidding to a halt near the Cessna. The driver's door flew open, and a figure emerged that made Wade's blood run cold. Preston Walsh, Brooke's fiancé. What the hell? Vivian whispered. Preston approached Vasquez, gesturing angrily. Though too distant to hear, the body language was clear. This wasn't a chance encounter. Theo, Wade said into his comm, are you seeing this? Recording everything, Theo confirmed. Preston Walsh is on Floyd's payroll. Has been for 3 years. The implications hit Wade like a physical blow. Preston had been planted in Brooke's life. Their relationship was another of Floyd's manipulations. Change of plans, Wade said grimly. We take all 3. But before they could move, the situation deteriorated. Preston was shouting now, jabbing a finger into Vasquez's chest. Vasquez responded by drawing a pistol. Wade broke cover, moving toward the confrontation with Vivian close behind. They were still 30 yards away when the shot rang out. Preston crumpled to the tarmac. Blackwell backed away in horror while Vasquez calmly wiped down the gun and placed it in Preston's limp hand. Police! Don't move! The command came from behind them as FBI agents emerged from concealed positions around the airstrip. In the chaos that followed, Wade lost sight of Vasquez. Agents swarmed the scene, securing Blackwell and checking Preston, who was still alive but badly wounded. We've got a shooter fleeing west on foot, came a report over the FBI tactical channel that Theo had hacked into their earpieces. That's towards Wrench and Elias, Vivian realized. Wade touched his comm. Wrench, Elias, Vasquez is heading your way. He's armed and just shot Preston Walsh. Copy that, Elias replied calmly. We have eyes on him. Laurel Winters appeared beside them, looking distinctly unhappy. This wasn't the plan, Donovan. You were supposed to observe and report, not intervene. Plans change, Wade responded, especially when my daughter's fiancé shows up. Laurel's expression shifted. You didn't know? Preston Walsh has been working for Floyd for years. He was assigned to get close to Brooke, keep tabs on you. I'm learning that now, Wade said tightly. Question is, why didn't you tell me? Before Laurel could answer, a series of sharp cracks echoed from the western perimeter. Gunshots. Wrench? Elias? Report, Wade demanded. Silence stretched for several seconds before Elias's voice came through, strained but steady. Target neutralized. Wrench is hit. Upper thigh, arterial bleeding. Wade was running before Elias finished speaking, Vivian right behind him with her medical kit. They found Wrench propped against a boulder, Elias applying pressure to a wound in her leg. Nearby lay Vasquez, unmoving, a precise bullet hole in his forehead. "Sorry, Chief," Wrench said through gritted teeth. "Bastard had a backup piece." Vivian pushed Elias aside, examining the wound with professional efficiency. "Femoral artery nicked, but not severed. She'll live, but we need evac now." Within minutes, an FBI medical team arrived, loading Wrench onto a stretcher. As they prepared to transport her, she grabbed Wade's wrist. "Laptop," she gasped. "In Vasquez's vehicle. Has everything." Wade nodded. "I'll handle it. You focus on healing up." As the medical team departed, Laurel approached them. "We have a problem. Dominic Vasquez is dead, and your people are responsible." "Self-defense," Elias stated flatly. "He shot first." "That's convenient." "It's also true," Wade countered. "And irrelevant now. What matters is that laptop. It will have records of every job Vasquez did for Floyd, including Martin Frost." Laurel sighed. "I'll get a forensic team on it. But this complicates things. The operation is now officially a homicide investigation." "What about Preston?" Vivian asked. "Being airlifted to Phoenix. He'll survive, unfortunately." Laurel's expression was grim. "We've been watching him for months. He was groomed by Floyd to infiltrate your family, keep Brooke under control." Wade felt cold fury rising. "Does Brooke know?" "Not yet, but she will soon. This will all be public by evening." As dawn broke fully over the desert, Wade watched FBI technicians processing the scene. Another piece of Floyd's network had crumbled, but at what cost? Wrench was injured, Vasquez dead, and Brooke about to learn another devastating truth about her life. His phone vibrated with a text message from an unknown number. "This isn't over. F. Floyd, reaching out from jail, still believing he held power." "Oh, I know it's not over," Wade murmured. "It's just beginning." Chapter 5. The Price of Truth. 3 days after the shootout at the airstrip, Wade sat in a hospital corridor in Phoenix, waiting. Wrench was recovering in a secured room down the hall, under guard due to her involvement in Vasquez's death. 2 doors further was Preston Walsh's room, also under guard but for different reasons. The FBI had found incriminating evidence on Vasquez's laptop, records of bribes, threats, and worse. Preston's name appeared throughout, initially as a recipient of payments, later as an active participant in Floyd's schemes. Wade checked his watch. Brooke would be arriving soon. Laurel had finally cleared him to see her, though he dreaded the conversation ahead. Elias appeared with 2 cups of coffee, handing one to Wade. "Perimeter secure. No sign of trouble." Wade accepted the coffee. "Any word from Theo?" "He's still working through the laptop contents with the FBI tech team. Says it's a gold mine." Elias hesitated. "There's something else. Blackwell is talking, offering testimony against Floyd in exchange for witness protection." "Smart move. Self-preservation." Elias leaned against the wall, alert despite his casual posture. "Wrench is being released tomorrow. Vivian's arranged a safe house in Flagstaff until things cool down." Wade nodded absently, his mind elsewhere. Since the airstrip incident, Floyd's operation had begun unraveling rapidly. Business partners were distancing themselves, political allies denying connections, offshore accounts being frozen. It should have felt like victory. "You don't look like a man who's winning," Elias observed. Wade met his gaze. "Winning and losing aren't always clear-cut, are they?" "Rarely, in my experience," Elias agreed. He straightened as movement caught his attention. "Your daughter's here." Brooke appeared at the corridor entrance, accompanied by Laurel. She looked exhausted, her face pale and drawn, but she carried herself with a composure that reminded Wade painfully of her mother, the Veronica he'd first fallen in love with, before ambition corrupted her. Elias discreetly withdrew as Brooke approached. Laurel gave Wade a warning look before leaving them alone. "You look tired," Wade said, offering the untouched coffee. Brooke ignored it. "I've been sitting with Preston. He's still unconscious." "I'm sorry. Are you?" Her voice was flat. "The FBI says he was working for Floyd. That our entire relationship was orchestrated." Wade, chose his words carefully. I didn't know until the airstrip. I would have told you if I had. Brooke studied his face, searching for truth. 3 years, Dad. I was with him for 3 years. Planning a future, talking about children. Her composure cracked slightly. Was any of it real? I don't know. Wade answered honestly. People are complicated. He might have developed genuine feelings eventually. That's not comforting. Brooke sank into a chair, suddenly looking very young. How'd we get here? How did everything fall apart so completely? Wade sat beside her, maintaining a respectful distance. Systems don't collapse all at once, Brooke. They erode slowly, compromise by compromise, until one day the foundation gives way. Like your marriage to Mom? Like a lot of things. They sat in silence for a moment before Brooke spoke again. I talked to your friend, Dr. Cole. She told me about what Floyd did to get you discharged from the military. Wade tensed. Vivian shouldn't have. I deserve to know. Brooke interrupted. All these years, Mom portrayed you as someone who couldn't adapt to civilian life, who chose to wallow in self-pity rather than rebuild. She met his gaze directly. But that wasn't the full story, was it? No, Wade admitted. But I still made my choices afterward. Some better than others. Like plotting elaborate revenge instead of fighting for custody. There was an edge to her question. Wade winced at the direct hit. I thought you were better off without me at the time. Floyd could provide stability, opportunities. He trailed off. Broken, Brooke finished. That's what Mom always said. That you were broken inside. Maybe I was, Wade acknowledged. But not in the way she meant. A doctor emerged from Preston's room, consulting a chart. Brooke straightened, instantly alert. Is he awake? Not yet, the doctor replied. But his vitals are improving. You can sit with him if you'd like. After the doctor left, Brooke turned back to Wade. I need to understand something. This vendetta against Floyd and Mom, was it worth it? Look at all the collateral damage. She gestured around them. Your friend is injured. Preston might never wake up. My life is in shambles. It wasn't just about revenge, Brooke. Wade leaned forward, intent. Floyd and your mother hurt a lot of people. Martin Frost was just one of many. They destroyed lives, corrupted institutions, all for power and wealth. So you appointed yourself judge and executioner? Brooke challenged. No, I just made sure the truth came to light. What happens next is up to the justice system. Brooke stood, gathering her resolve. I'm going to sit with Preston. I don't know what I feel for him anymore, but I can't just abandon him. I understand, Wade said, rising as well. For what it's worth, I am sorry about how everything unfolded. Not for exposing Floyd and your mother, but for the pain it's caused you. Brooke studied him for a long moment. I believe you, but I'm not ready to forgive you yet. She turned to go, then paused. The FBI agent, Winters, she showed me Martin Frost's file, the photos of his children. They deserve justice. Yes, they do. So do I, Brooke said quietly. I'm going to testify against Mom and Floyd. I want to tell the truth about everything. Pride and sorrow mingled in Wade's chest. It won't be easy. Nothing worth doing ever is. You taught me that, once upon a time. As Brooke disappeared into Preston's room, Wade's phone buzzed with a message from Theo. Turn on the news. Now, Wade found a small waiting area with a television and switched it to a local channel. A news anchor was mid-sentence, her expression grave. Breaking news in the Pearson corruption case. Roland Mercer, longtime business partner of Floyd Pearson, was found dead in his Phoenix home this morning. Police are investigating the death as a possible suicide, though sources close to the investigation note suspicious circumstances. Wade immediately called Theo. Talk to me. Mercer didn't kill himself, Theo said without preamble. His security system was disabled from 2 to 4 a.m. His home safe was opened with the correct combination. And get this, he had a meeting scheduled with the FBI today. Was going to turn state's evidence. Floyd's cleaning house, Wade realized. Even from jail, he's eliminating liabilities. That's not all. I've been monitoring the jail's communication logs. Floyd had a visitor yesterday, his attorney, Gabriel Harmon. No audio recorded due to attorney-client privilege, but I hacked the surveillance feed. They passed notes. I couldn't see what they said, but Harmon left looking worried. Where's Harmon now? Unknown. His office says he's out of town on business. Wade's mind raced. Floyd was fighting back, using resources they hadn't identified yet. The game had changed. We need to warn Laurel, Wade decided, and increase security on Blackwell and Preston. They're both vulnerable. Already done, Theo assured him. But Wade, there's something else. I found emails on Vasquez's laptop. Correspondence between Floyd and a colonel in the Pentagon. The same one who approved your medical discharge. They go back further than we thought. Wade went still. How much further? 12 years. Before your last deployment. Before Kandahar. The implication struck Wade like a physical blow. Are you saying Floyd arranged the ambush? Not directly, Theo clarified. But there were intelligence leaks. Your unit's movements were compromised. The colonel was feeding information to Floyd, who had business interests in the region. Wade gripped the phone tightly, memories flooding back. The explosion, the screams of his team, the teammate he couldn't save. Find everything, he instructed, his voice deadly calm. Every connection, every communication. If Floyd was responsible for what happened to our team, I want proof. I'm on it, Theo promised. But Wade, be careful. Floyd is desperate, and desperate men are dangerous. After hanging up, Wade stood motionless, processing this new information. If Floyd had indeed played a role in the Kandahar ambush, his betrayal was even more profound than Wade had imagined. Mr. Donovan. Laurel's voice interrupted his thoughts. We need to talk. Her expression was serious as she led him to a more private area. Roland Mercer was murdered, she stated without preamble. We found evidence of forced entry obscured to look like an inside job. Professional hit. Floyd's work, Wade confirmed. He's eliminating witnesses. Yes, but he's not working alone. Laurel handed him a file. Gabriel Harmon, Floyd's attorney, has disappeared. His wife reported him missing this morning. Wade reviewed the file. You think Floyd had him killed too? Possibly. Or forced him to help with something before eliminating him. Laurel studied Wade carefully. There's more. We found a list in Mercer's house. Names of people who posed threats to Floyd's organization. And your daughter's name was on it. So is yours, along with Blackwell, Preston, and several others. Wade absorbed this with cold fury. A hit list. Essentially, Laurel agreed. We're moving Preston to a secure facility tonight. I suggest your daughter go into protective custody as well. She won't agree to that easily. Then convince her. Laurel's tone was unyielding. Floyd Pearson still has resources we haven't identified. Until we do, everyone on that list is in danger. After Laurel left, Wade returned to the corridor outside Preston's room. His phone buzzed with another message, this one from Vivian, Wrench Stable. Being moved tonight. We'll call when secure. Good news, at least. One less vulnerability to worry about. As Wade contemplated how to approach Brooke about protective custody, Preston's door opened. A nurse emerged, followed by his daughter. He's awake, Brooke said, her expression complicated. Asking for you. Wade raised an eyebrow in surprise. Me? He says he needs to tell you something. About Floyd. Inside the room, Preston lay pale against the hospital sheets, and 4 in one arm and monitors beeping steadily. His handsome face was drawn with pain, but his eyes were clear and focused. Mr. Donovan, he said weakly, thank you for coming. Wade remained standing at the foot of the bed. Brooks says you have information. Preston attempted to shift position, wincing. About Floyd. About everything. He glanced at Brooke. I never meant for things to go this far. You have to believe that. Just tell him what you told me, Brooke said, her voice tight. Preston nodded. I was approached 3 years ago by Floyd. He knew I was in law school, ambitious. Offered me a position in his firm after graduation, mentorship connections. All I had to do was keep an eye on Brooke, report back if you ever contacted her. He looked ashamed. It seemed harmless at first. She was beautiful, smart. Getting close to her wasn't exactly a hardship. And later, Wade prompted. Later, I was in too deep. They had evidence of me falsifying case documents. I would have been disbarred before I even began practicing. Preston's gaze shifted to Brooke. And by then, my feelings for you were real. I swear they were. Brooke's expression remained neutral, but Wade could see the hurt in her eyes. "Why were you at the airstrip?" Wade asked. "Floyd called me from jail. Said Vasquez and Blackwell were planning to flee, taking evidence that would implicate me. He suggested I stop them." Preston laughed bitterly, then coughed. "I was stupid enough to believe him. Turns out, he wanted Vasquez to eliminate me. I knew too much, had become a liability." "What exactly do you know?" Wade pressed. Preston hesitated, glancing at Brooke again. "It's bigger than you think. Floyd's organization, it's not just local. There are federal connections, international money. And Veronica, she's not just a passive participant." Wade leaned closer. "Explain." "The art museum was a front for money laundering, yes. But Veronica was the one who designed the system. She has financial expertise that surpasses Floyd's. She's the brains behind much of their operation." This confirmed Wade's suspicions about his ex-wife. Veronica had always been brilliant with numbers, strategic in her thinking. It made sense that she would be more than Floyd's trophy wife. "There's something else," Preston continued. "Something about you. Floyd has been obsessed with ruining you for years. It goes beyond just wanting Veronica." "Why?" Wade asked, though he was beginning to suspect the answer. "I don't know all the details, but it has to do with Afghanistan, with an operation that went wrong. Kandahar, just as Theo had suggested." Floyd mentioned a colonel, someone who owed him favors, Preston added. "I think." He was interrupted by a commotion in the hallway. Raised voices, hurried footsteps. Wade moved instinctively toward the door, positioning himself between the potential threat and Brooke. Laurel burst in, her expression urgent. "We need to move. Now." "Security breach at the main entrance. Armed suspects. Floyd's people?" Wade asked, already helping Brooke gather her things. "Likely. 2 men, professional. They took out one of our agents already." Laurel checked her weapon. "There's a service elevator at the end of the hall. We'll evacuate Preston first, then you two." But as a medical team rushed in to prepare Preston for transport, gunfire erupted from the corridor. Wade pushed Brooke behind the bed, drawing the weapon Elias had provided him earlier. "Stay down," he ordered, moving to flank the door alongside Laurel. The shooting stopped, followed by an eerie silence. Then footsteps, measured and unhurried, approaching the room. "Wade Donovan." The voice was unfamiliar, coldly professional. "We don't want to hurt your daughter or the agent. Just you and Walsh. Come out now, and they live." Laurel exchanged a glance with Wade, silently communicating a plan. She held up 3 fingers, counting down. As she reached one, chaos erupted. The door burst open. Wade fired twice, hitting the first gunman in the shoulder and leg. Laurel took down the second with a shot to the chest. In the sudden quiet that followed, broken only by the wounded man's groans, Wade checked on Brooke. She was shaken but unharmed, crouched protectively near Preston's bed. "We need to move," Laurel said, securing the surviving attacker. "There could be more." Wade nodded, helping Preston into a wheelchair despite the younger man's pain protests. As they headed for the service elevator, his phone vibrated with a message from Elias. "Second team approaching from parking garage. For minutes out." "Change of plans," Wade announced. "We're not all getting out the same way." He turned to Laurel. "Take Brooke and Preston to the secure facility. I'll create a diversion." "Dad, no," Brooke protested. "It's not negotiable," Wade said firmly. "I can handle myself. You need to stay with Agent Winters." Brooke looked ready to argue further, but Preston reached for her hand. "He's right, Brooke. Please. I need medical attention, and you need protection." After a moment's hesitation, she nodded reluctantly. "I'll contact you when it's safe," Wade promised. "Trust me." As Laurel led them toward the service area, Wade headed in the opposite direction, toward the main entrance where the second team would be arriving. He touched his comm. "Elias, I need extraction. East entrance, 5 minutes." "Already in position," came the calm reply. "Vehicle running." Wade moved purposefully through the hospital corridors, ignoring the curious looks from staff and patients. He passed a security guard station, flashing Laurel's FBI credentials that she'd slipped him before separating. Outside, the afternoon sun was blinding after the hospital's dim lighting. Wade spotted Elias in a sedan across the parking lot, engine idling. Between them were 2 men in dark clothing, Moving toward the entrance, Floyd's second team. Wade ducked behind a concrete pillar, weighing his options. Direct confrontation was risky in a public place with potential civilian casualties. But letting the men enter the hospital wasn't an option either. Decision made, he activated the fire alarm on the wall beside him. Immediately, sirens wailed throughout the building. Staff and patients began evacuating, creating confusion that would slow the hit team and cover Brooks' escape via the service exit. As predicted, the approaching men hesitated, thrown off by the sudden chaos and stream of people exiting the building. Wade used the distraction to circle behind them, approaching from their blind spot. The first man never saw the blow coming, a precise strike to the base of the skull that dropped him unconscious. The second turned, reaching for his concealed weapon, but Wade was faster. A dislocated wrist, a knee to the solar plexus, and the second attacker joined his colleague on the ground. Wade quickly searched them, finding military-grade weapons with silencers, multiple IDs, and, most importantly, a phone. He pocketed it before sprinting to Elias's waiting car. As they sped away from the hospital, Wade called Laurel. Situation contained. 2 more assailants neutralized. Are Brooke and Preston secure? En route now, Laurel confirmed. What's your status? Following another lead. I'll be in touch. He ended the call before she could object. Elias glanced at him. Where to? Wade examined the phone he'd taken, finding recent text messages with an Arizona area code. Flagstaff. We have a new thread to pull. The price of truth was climbing higher by the hour. But Wade was committed now, too far along this path to turn back. Floyd had escalated the conflict, putting Brooke in danger. That made it personal in a way even the Kandahar revelation hadn't. As they drove north toward Flagstaff, Wade studied the phone's contents more carefully. The hitmen had received detailed instructions, including hospital floor plans and patrol schedules. Someone with inside access was helping Floyd. We're being followed, Elias noted calmly, checking the rearview mirror. Black SUV, 2 miles back. Maintaining distance. FBI or Floyd's people? Hard to say. They're being cautious. Wade considered their options. Let's find out. Next exit, make it obvious we've spotted them. See how they react. Elias nodded, taking the upcoming exit with a sudden swerve that no surveillance team could mistake for normal driving. In the rear view, the SUV continued past the exit, not following. Not immediate pursuit, Elias observed. Could still be surveillance falling back to maintain cover. Or not interested in us specifically, Wade reasoned. Keep an eye out, but proceed to Flagstaff. As they continued north, Wade's phone rang. Theo. I've got something, Theo said without preamble. Emails between Floyd and Colonel Hargrove discussing your unit's deployment schedule in Kandahar. Specific locations, patrol routes. Wade's grip tightened on the phone. Why? What did Floyd gain from compromising us? Control of a rare earth mineral extraction operation in the region. Your unit was investigating corruption in local security forces Floyd was paying to protect his mining interests. The final piece clicked into place. Floyd hadn't just stolen Wade's wife and manipulated his discharge. He'd been responsible for the ambush that killed Wade's teammate and ended his military career. Send everything to Laurel, Wade instructed. This goes beyond revenge now. It's about justice for everyone Floyd has hurt. After hanging up, Wade sat in silence, processing the implications. The scope of Floyd's crimes was larger than he'd initially believed, extending across continents and years. You okay? Elias asked quietly. Wade looked out at the desert landscape passing by, the red rocks catching the late afternoon sun. I will be, when this is finished. The truth had cost him dearly. His marriage, years with his daughter, his military career. But the full price wasn't paid yet. Floyd was still orchestrating violence from behind bars. Veronica was still maintaining her innocence. The final reckoning was yet to come. Chapter 6, Blood and Water. The Flagstaff safe house was a modest cabin nestled among ponderosa pines, far enough from the main road to provide privacy, yet close enough for a quick escape if necessary. As Wade and Elias approached, they noticed a thin plume of smoke rising from the chimney. Someone was already there. Vivian said they wouldn't arrive until tomorrow, Wade murmured, reaching for his weapon. Elias silently signaled that he would circle around the back, while Wade approached from the front. They moved with practiced coordination, slipping through the trees with minimal sound. Wade reached the front porch and positioned himself beside the door, listening. Inside, he could hear movement, a single person moving with purpose. He raised his gun and nodded to Elias, who had appeared at the side window. In one fluid motion, Wade kicked open the door and entered in a tactical stance, weapon raised. "Jesus Christ!" Wrench exclaimed from where she stood at the stove, leaning heavily on a crutch. "A little warning next time, Chief." Wade lowered his weapon, tension draining from his shoulders. "You're supposed to be in Phoenix under guard." Wrench shrugged, turning back to whatever she was cooking. "Got bored. Signed myself out AMA. Vivian pitched a fit, but eventually drove me here." She gestured toward a bedroom door. "She's napping," said, and I quote, "I'm too old for this cloak and dagger bullshit." Elias secured the perimeter before joining them in the kitchen. "Any trouble getting here?" "Clean route," Wrench confirmed, though I spotted a drone over I-17 earlier. "Military grade, not civilian. Someone's conducting surveillance in the area." Wade checked his phone. No signal, as expected this far from civilization. He switched to the satellite phone Theo had provided. "Update on Brooke?" he asked when Theo answered. "Secure at an FBI safe house near Tucson. Preston's with her, under medical supervision. No incidents since the hospital." Theo hesitated. "There's something else. Veronica's requesting a meeting with you. Officially, through her attorney." Wade frowned. "Why?" "Claims she has information about Floyd's operations that she'll only share with you. The FBI thinks it's worth exploring." "It's a trap," Elias stated flatly. "Probably," Wade agreed. "But we need to know what game she's playing." After discussing logistics with Theo, they settled in to wait for Vivian to wake. The cabin had been stocked with supplies, food, weapons, first aid equipment, communications gear. Wrench had already established a defensive perimeter despite her injury. "How's the leg?" Wade asked, noting her pained movements. "Hurts like a bitch," she admitted, "but I've had worse." "Remember Chashmani Valley?" Wade nodded, recalling the mission that had nearly killed them all. "Hard to forget. This doesn't compare. Besides, Vivian's got me on the good drugs." Wrench studied him thoughtfully. "I heard about Kandahar, about Floyd's connection. News travels fast. You okay with it?" Wade considered the question. "I always knew something about that ambush felt wrong. The intelligence was too precise, the timing too perfect." He shook his head. "Finding out Floyd was behind it explains a lot. Like why you've been obsessed with bringing him down all these years." Wrench suggested. "I wasn't obsessed," Wade protested. Wrench raised an eyebrow. "Chief, you spent 8 years building a case against him. Collected evidence, studied his movements, learned his weaknesses. If that's not obsession, I don't know what is." Before Wade could respond, Vivian emerged from the bedroom, looking tired but alert. "I thought I heard your voice," she said to Wade. "Please tell me you haven't done anything reckless in the last 12 hours. "Define reckless," Elias murmured, earning a glare from Wade. Vivian sighed. "Of course you have." She joined them at the table. "What's our status?" Wade briefed her on the hospital attack, the captured phone, and Veronica's request for a meeting. Vivian listened without interruption, her expression growing increasingly concerned. "You're not seriously considering meeting with her," she said when he finished. "I think we have to," Wade replied. "She might have useful information. Or she might be setting you up," Vivian countered. "Floyd's already tried to have you killed once today. That's why I'm not going alone." Wade turned to Elias. "I need you to continue tracking the number from that phone. Find out who those hitmen were reporting to." Elias nodded. "And Wrench stays here to recover," Wade said firmly, ignoring Wrench's scowl. "We need this location secure as a fallback." After finalizing plans, Wade and Vivian prepared to leave. The meeting with Veronica was scheduled for the following morning at the Federal Detention Center in Phoenix. "Be careful with her," Wrench warned as they headed for the door. "Veronica always was a manipulative one. I remember Wade assured her. The drive back to Phoenix was tense but uneventful. They stopped only once, at a secure location Theo had arranged for them to change vehicles and review the latest intelligence. Floyd's attorney is still missing, Theo reported via encrypted video call. His wife received a ransom demand, but the FBI believes it's a ruse. They think he's dead. Floyd cleaning house again, Wade surmised. Most likely. Oh, and the colonel, Hargrove? He committed suicide yesterday. Gunshot to the head in his Virginia home. Theo's air quotes made his skepticism clear. Awfully convenient timing. Wade agreed. Floyd was eliminating everyone who could connect him to the Kandahar operation, which raised an important question. Why keep Veronica alive? She knows everything. Maybe he still cares for her, Vivian suggested, though her tone indicated she didn't believe it. Or she's still useful to him somehow. Wade countered. We'll find out tomorrow. They spent the night in a motel under false names, taking turns keeping watch. Wade slept poorly, his dreams filled with fragments of memory. Kandahar, Veronica on their wedding day, Brooke as a child. He woke before dawn, alert despite the lack of rest. Vivian was already up, reviewing Veronica's file on her tablet. She's been a model prisoner, Vivian noted. No incidents, cooperating with investigators on minor matters. Biding her time, Wade suggested. Veronica always plays the long game. They arrived at the detention center as scheduled. The facility was newer than Wade had expected, all glass and steel rather than concrete and bars. After rigorous security screening, they were escorted to a private meeting room. Veronica was already there, seated at a metal table. She wore a standard-issue orange jumpsuit that somehow looked tailored on her slim frame. Her blonde hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail, her face devoid of makeup. Yet she still managed to project an aura of elegance. Wade, her voice was warm, as if greeting him at a dinner party rather than in a detention center. Thank you for coming. Her gaze shifted to Vivian. And Dr. Cole, it's been a long time. Not long enough, Vivian replied coldly. Wade took a seat across from Veronica. You requested this meeting. What? Veronica folded her hands on the table. I've been following the news. Roland's death, the attack at the hospital. Floyd's getting desperate. Your point. My point is that I'm willing to help you stop him. In exchange for consideration in my case. Wade studied her, looking for signs of deception. Veronica had always been an excellent liar, but he'd learned her tells over the years of their marriage. The slight tension around her eyes suggested she wasn't being entirely forthcoming. Why now, he asked. You've had weeks to cooperate. Because now I have leverage. Veronica leaned forward slightly. I know where the money is, Wade. All of it. Offshore accounts, shell companies, hidden assets. I can give the FBI everything they need to dismantle Floyd's empire completely. Why come to me? Why not go directly to the prosecutors? Because I don't trust them to protect me, Veronica said simply. Floyd has people everywhere. But you've always been honest, even when it was inconvenient. Wade almost laughed at the irony. You'll forgive me if I find your sudden faith in my character hard to believe. Believe what you want. But we both know Floyd won't stop until everyone who can testify against him is dead. That includes me. Her composure slipped slightly. And Brooke. At the mention of their daughter, Wade tensed. Brooke is safe. For now, Veronica agreed. But Floyd is resourceful. He's been planning contingencies for years. What exactly are you offering? Vivian interjected, her clinical detachment a counterpoint to the emotional undercurrents flowing between Wade and Veronica. Everything, Veronica replied. Account numbers, passwords, contact information for Floyd's remaining allies. But most importantly, the identity of his inside man at the FBI. This caught Wade's attention. Go on. Not until you agree to help me get a deal. Reduced sentence. Witness protection after I serve my time. Veronica's gaze was steady. I'm not asking for immunity. I know what I've done, but I want a chance at a life afterward. Wade considered his options. Veronica was undoubtedly manipulating the situation to her advantage, but that didn't mean her information wasn't valuable. I'll speak to Agent Winters, he said finally. If your information checks out, I'll support your request for a deal. Relief flickered across Veronica's face before she composed herself. "Thank you. Don't thank me yet," Wade warned. "First, I need something concrete. A show of good faith." Veronica hesitated, then nodded. "The inside man is Assistant Director Thomas Carrington. He's been on Floyd's payroll for 6 years." Wade exchanged a glance with Vivian. Carrington was Laurel's superior, the one overseeing the entire Pearson investigation. "That's a serious accusation," Vivian noted. "Do you have proof?" "In a safe deposit box at First National Bank on Central Avenue. Box 713. Veronica looked directly at Wade. "The key is hidden in our old house. Remember the loose brick in the garden wall? Behind it." Wade remembered. It was where they used to hide a spare house key, a secret known only to the two of them. "If you're setting me up," he began. "I'm not," Veronica interrupted. "Floyd is going down, one way or another. I'm just trying to ensure I'm not collateral damage." After the meeting concluded, Wade and Vivian immediately contacted Laurel, arranging to meet at a secure location rather than FBI headquarters. If Carrington truly was compromised, they couldn't risk him discovering their suspicions. "Carrington," Laurel looked stunned when Wade relayed Veronica's claim. I can't believe it. He's been with the Bureau for 20 years. Impeccable record. The longest-serving moles are often the most trusted," Wade pointed out. "We need to check that safe deposit box." Laurel hesitated. "If we move against an assistant director without solid evidence, my career is over." "So, is this investigation?" "Then we get the evidence first," Wade insisted. "The garden wall of my old house. We start there." The house Wade had once shared with Veronica and Brooke was now occupied by a young family. It took some creative explanations and Laurel's FBI credentials to gain access to the backyard. The garden wall was still there, though now surrounded by children's toys and a small vegetable patch. Wade located the loose brick easily. Some things you never forget. Behind it, as Veronica had promised, was a small metal box containing a key. She was telling the truth. Vivian sounded surprised. "About this, at least," Wade cautioned. "Doesn't mean everything else checks out." Accessing the safe deposit box required more FBI intervention, but by mid-afternoon, they had its contents spread before them in a secure room at Laurel's field office. The evidence was damning. Photographs of Carrington meeting with Floyd, financial records showing regular payments, and most incriminating of all, transcripts of confidential FBI deliberations that Carrington had shared. "This is unbelievable," Laurel murmured, examining a document showing Carrington had compromised 3 separate investigations into Floyd's activities over the years. "Believe it," Wade said grimly. "The question now is how we use this without tipping off Carrington." They spent hours developing a strategy, eventually deciding that Laurel would take the evidence directly to the FBI director, bypassing the normal chain of command. It was risky, but necessary given the level of corruption they were dealing with. As evening approached, Wade received a text from Elias. Track the number. Connected to a burner phone registered to Gabriel Harmon's paralegal. Cooper Shaw. Another piece of the puzzle. Shaw had access to case files, prison visitation logs, and potentially FBI movements through Harmon's legal communications with Floyd. Wade shared this information with Laurel, who immediately ordered surveillance on Shaw. "If he's facilitating communications between Floyd and his hit teams, we can use him to track down the rest of the network. Or as bait," Wade suggested. "Let him think he's arranging another hit. When the team arrives, we'll be waiting." Laurel considered this approach. Risky, but it could work. "I'll need approval for an operation of that scale." "From Carrington?" Wade raised an eyebrow. "No. Directly from the director, after I present this evidence." She gathered the documents from the safe deposit box. "In the meantime, you should check in with your daughter. The protection detail reported she's been asking for you." Wade tensed. "Is something wrong?" "Nothing specific, but she's been through a lot. She could probably use her father right now." The safe house where Brooke was being kept was a nondescript ranch-style home in a quiet suburb of Tucson. Wade arrived after dark, passing multiple security checkpoints before being allowed inside. He found Brooke in the living room, curled up on a sofa with a book she wasn't really reading. She looked up as he entered, her expression a mixture of relief and lingering anger. "Hey," she said simply. "Hey yourself." Wade sat in a chair opposite her. "How are you holding up?" Brooke closed her book. "As well as can be expected, I guess. Being in protective custody isn't exactly how I planned to spend the week after my wedding." "I'm sorry about that." "Are you?" There was an edge to her question. "Because from where I'm sitting, this whole situation is exactly what you wanted. Floyd and Mom in jail, their empire crumbling, me finally seeing the truth about them." Wade shook his head. "I never wanted you caught in the crossfire, Brooke. Everything I've done has been to protect you from Floyd's world. By destroying it completely?" Brooke challenged. "You could have just walked away years ago. Let me live my life. Even if you thought Mom and Floyd were terrible people." "It wasn't that simple," Wade tried to explain. "Floyd's crimes went beyond just personal grudges. People died, Brooke. Martin Frost wasn't the only one." Brooke was quiet for a moment. "I talked to Preston today. He's being moved to a different facility tomorrow." "How is he?" "Physically? Recovering. Emotionally?" She shrugged. "He keeps apologizing, saying he never meant to hurt me, that his feelings were real even if our meeting was arranged." "Do you believe him?" Brooke looked away. "I don't know what to believe anymore. Everyone's been lying to me for so long." Her gaze returned to Wade, piercing. "Including you." "I never lied to you," Wade insisted. "Lies of omission are still lies, Dad. You knew about Floyd and Mom for years. You gathered evidence, built your case, planned your revenge, all while letting me stay in that house, engage with those people, fall in love with someone who was part of their world." The accusation hit Wade hard because there was truth in it. He had prioritized his revenge over warning Brooke, telling himself she wouldn't have believed him anyway. "You're right," he admitted finally. "I should have tried harder to protect you, to warn you." Brooke seemed surprised by his acknowledgement. "Why didn't you?" "Pride, partly. After your mother left, after I lost my career, I wasn't in a good place. Then when I started learning about Floyd's operations, I convinced myself that exposing him completely was the only way to truly keep you safe." Wade met her gaze. "I was wrong about how to do it, but not about the threat he posed." Their conversation was interrupted by the arrival of an FBI agent. "Mr. Donovan, there's a call for you. Agent Winters says it's urgent." In the secure communications room, Wade took the call. Laurel's voice was tense. "We have a problem. The director was on board with moving against Carrington, but before we could act, Carrington disappeared. His house is empty, go bag gone. He was tipped off," Wade realized. "Most likely. We're monitoring airports, train stations, border crossings. But if he has fake identification..." "He's not running," Wade said with certainty. "A man like Carrington, with his resources and connections, he's regrouping, not retreating. What do you think he'll do?" Wade considered the question. "If I were him, I'd try to eliminate the most immediate threats. That means Veronica, who exposed him, and possibly Shaw, who could connect him to the hospital hit team." "Veronica is secure in federal custody," Laurel pointed out. "Is she? With Carrington's level of access and knowledge of protocols?" Wade felt a growing sense of urgency. "We need to move her now, to a location only we know about." There was a brief silence on the line as Laurel considered this. "I'll make the arrangements." "What about Shaw?" "Let me handle him," Wade decided. "If he's working with Carrington, he might lead us to him." After ending the call, Wade rejoined Brooke in the living room. "I have to go," he told her. "There's a situation that needs my attention." Brooke studied his face. "More revenge?" "No," Wade answered honestly. "This time it's about preventing more bloodshed." Something in his tone must have convinced her, because Brooke's expression softened slightly. "Be careful, Dad." Wade hesitated, then embraced her briefly. "I will. And when this is over, we'll talk. Really talk. About everything." As he left the safe house, Wade called Theo to arrange surveillance on Cooper Shaw. The paralegal lived in a downtown apartment and frequented a bar called the Rusty Nail after work. That would be Wade's best opportunity to approach him without arousing suspicion. The Rusty Nail was a lawyer hangout, dark and wood-paneled with discreet booths, where confidential conversations could be had over expensive whiskey. Wade spotted Shaw easily, mid-30s, meticulously dressed, nursing a bourbon at the far end of the bar. "Mind if I join you?" Wade asked, sliding onto the adjacent stool. Shaw looked up, annoyed at the intrusion, then froze as recognition dawned. You're Wade Donovan. And you're Cooper Shaw, Gabriel Harmon's paralegal. The man who's been helping Floyd Pearson arrange hits from prison. Shaw's hand tightened around his glass. I don't know what you're talking about. No. Wade showed him the phone taken from the hospital attackers. This burner phone is registered in your name. The texts arranging the hit on me and Preston Walsh came from another phone that called this one 12 times in the past week. Shaw's composure cracked. Look, I just passed messages. I didn't know what they were planning. Save it. Wade cut him off. I don't care about your involvement. What I want to know is where Carrington is. Carrington? Shaw looked genuinely confused. Assistant Director Thomas Carrington. Floyd's inside man at the FBI. The one who just went off the grid. Understanding dawned in Shaw's eyes, followed quickly by fear. I never dealt with Carrington directly. Everything went through Harmon. And where's Harmon now? Shaw swallowed hard. I don't know. He missed a court appearance 3 days ago. His wife filed a missing persons report. But you have a way of contacting someone in Floyd's organization, Wade pressed. For emergencies. A number, a location, something. Shaw hesitated, weighing his options. Wade could almost see the calculations running behind his eyes. The risk of lying versus the danger of betraying Floyd. There's a storage unit, Shaw finally admitted. In Harmon's name. But Floyd's people use it for dead drops. Messages, cash, burner phones. Where? Secure space on 32nd Street. Unit 1047. Shaw drained his bourbon. That's all I know. I swear. Wade believed him. Shaw was a facilitator, not a planner. A man who had gotten in too deep with dangerous people and now saw no way out. What happens to me now? Shaw asked, fear evident in his voice. That depends on you, Wade replied. The FBI will be here in about 10 minutes. Your best option is to cooperate fully. Tell them everything you know about Floyd's operation, Harmon's disappearance, the hospital attack. And if I don't, Wade's expression hardened. Then I'll personally make sure Floyd learns you've been talking to me. How long do you think you'd last after that? The threat wasn't empty. Floyd had already demonstrated his willingness to eliminate liabilities, and Sean knew it. I'll cooperate, he said quickly. Wade stood to leave. Smart choice. Outside, Wade called Laurel to update her on Shaw and the storage unit. She agreed to send a team to investigate while continuing preparations to move Veronica to a secure location. What's your next move? She asked. I'm going to check the storage unit myself, Wade decided. If it's a dead drop, Carrington might be monitoring it, expecting instructions from Floyd. That's extremely risky, Laurel warned. Carrington is dangerous and desperate. So am I, Wade responded. Besides, I'll have backup. After hanging up, he called Elias, who was already en route to Phoenix with Vivian. They agreed to meet near the storage facility in 2 hours. As Wade drove across the city, his thoughts returned to Brooke. Their conversation had been difficult but necessary. For the first time in years, they had spoken honestly about the past and his role in the current situation. It wasn't forgiveness, not yet, but it was a beginning. His phone rang, a number he didn't recognize. Donovan, he answered cautiously. Hello, Wade. The voice sent a chill through him. Thomas Carrington. I understand you've been looking for me. Wade kept his tone neutral. Assistant Director Carrington. I'm surprised you'd reach out directly. Let's dispense with the formalities, Carrington said. We both know why I'm calling. You have something I want, and I have something you want. And what would that be? You have evidence from Veronica's safe deposit box. I want it destroyed. All copies, all records. Wade's grip tightened on the steering wheel. And what do I supposedly want from you? Your family's safety. Specifically, your ex-wife's. Carrington's tone was matter of fact. I'm currently looking at her in a transport vehicle that believes it's taking her to a secure FBI facility. Instead, it's heading to a location of my choosing. Wade's blood ran cold. If you hurt her, this isn't about hurting anyone, Carrington interrupted. It's about survival. Mine, and by extension, yours and Veronica's. Floyd doesn't care about either of you anymore. He just wants loose ends eliminated. So you're going against Floyd? Wade clarified. Protecting Veronica instead of eliminating her. Let's just say our interests have diverged. Floyd's imprisoned. His empire is crumbling. I'm looking toward the future. Wade processed this quickly. Carrington was playing both sides, using Veronica as leverage while potentially protecting her from Floyd's wrath. It was a desperate gambit from a man whose carefully constructed life was falling apart. What exactly are you proposing? Wade asked. A trade? The evidence for Veronica's location. You get her to safety. I disappear with my reputation intact enough to start over elsewhere. Why should I trust you? Carrington chuckled. You shouldn't, just as I shouldn't trust you. But we're both pragmatists, Wade. We understand the value of necessary compromise. Wade weighed his options. The evidence against Carrington was already with the FBI director. Copies existed in multiple locations. Trading them for Veronica's safety cost him nothing while potentially gaining valuable information. How do we do this? He asked. The storage unit on 32nd Street. Come alone, 1 hour. Bring all physical evidence. I'll give you the coordinates for Veronica. The call ended abruptly. Wade immediately contacted Laurel. Carrington has Veronica, he reported. Intercepted the transport. He's offering to trade her location for the evidence against him. Damn it. Laurel sounded genuinely shocked. The transport team was handpicked. He must have higher-level contacts than we realized. Or he used his FBI credentials before they were officially revoked, Wade suggested. Either way, he wants to meet at the storage unit in an hour. We'll mobilize a tactical team, Laurel began. No, Wade interrupted. He'll be watching. If he sees law enforcement, Veronica is dead. So what's your plan? Walk into an obvious trap. Something like that, Wade confirmed. But not without precautions. I need you to focus on locating that transport vehicle. It can't have gone far yet. After coordinating with Laurel, Wade contacted Elias and Vivian, updating them on the situation and adjusting their plan. They would provide covert support rather than accompanying him directly to the meeting. This is reckless, Vivian argued. Carrington is a trained FBI agent with nothing to lose. Which makes him predictable, Wade countered. He wants to survive this, not go down in a blaze of glory. As Wade approached the storage facility, he conducted a careful surveillance of the area. The complex was large, with multiple buildings and limited lighting. Perfect for an ambush, but also offering numerous tactical advantages for someone with Wade's training. Unit 1047 was located at the far end of a row, partially concealed from the main access road. Wade parked a distance away, checking his equipment one last time, a recording device, a non-lethal stun gun, and a satellite tracker that would allow Laurel to monitor his location. I'm in position, Elias confirmed through Wade's earpiece. Northeast corner, clear line of sight. Same, Vivian added. Southwest access road. No sign of additional vehicles or personnel. Wade proceeded on foot to the storage unit, alert for any sign of surveillance or ambush. The facility was quiet, most customers long gone at this late hour. The unit's padlock was unlocked, hanging open. Wade approached cautiously, weapon ready, and slid the door upward. The interior was empty except for a metal desk and chair in the center. On the desk sat a laptop computer, open and powered on. As Wade entered, the screen flickered to life, revealing Thomas Carrington's face. Mr. Donovan, Carrington said, his voice coming through the laptop speakers. I appreciate your punctuality. Wade scanned the unit for hidden threats. Where are you? Someplace safe, Carrington replied. Did you really think I'd meet you in person? After what happened to Mercer and Harmon? Floyd had them killed, Wade stated. Floyd ordered it. I arranged it. Carrington's admission was casual, chilling. Just as I arranged the hit team at the hospital. Professional courtesy. One last job before I disappeared. And Veronica? Where is she? Carrington smiled thinly. First, the evidence. Show me. Wade removed a manila envelope from his jacket, holding it up for the laptop's camera. Everything from the safe deposit box. Original documents, photographs, financial records. Place them on the desk and step back. Wade complied, keeping his movements deliberate. I've upheld my end. Now yours. Carrington seemed to consider this. Veronica is in a transport vehicle currently heading west on Interstate 10. By my calculation, they should be approaching the Buckeye exit. Who's with her? 2 men posing as FBI agents. They believe they're taking her to a black site for enhanced interrogation. Their orders are to keep her alive until they receive further instructions. Wade processed this information. That's not enough. I need something more concrete to find her. Check your phone, Carrington instructed. Wade's phone vibrated with an incoming text, GPS coordinates, and a vehicle description. You have maybe 20 minutes before they reach their destination, Carrington continued. After that, I can't guarantee her safety. Why are you really doing this? Wade asked. Selling out Floyd, potentially saving Veronica. It doesn't fit your profile. Carrington's expression hardened. Floyd Pearson used me for years, dangling promotions and political connections while holding evidence of my early indiscretions over my head. When he went down, he expected absolute loyalty from everyone around him, regardless of the cost. He leaned closer to the camera. I refused to go down with him. So this is pure self-interest, Wade concluded. Isn't everything? Carrington smiled without humor. Our time is up, Mr. Donovan. I suggest you hurry if you want to reach Veronica before those coordinates become a burial site. The screen went dark. Wade immediately relayed the coordinates to Laurel and his team. Carrington claims Veronica is in a transport vehicle heading west on I-10, approaching Buckeye. 2 fake agents, armed and dangerous. We have highway patrol units in the area, Laurel confirmed. Redirecting now. Can you provide a vehicle description? Wade forwarded the text message. Black Suburban, federal plates. Likely stolen or cloned from an actual FBI vehicle. On it. What about Carrington? He wasn't here. Video call only. Wade examined the laptop. The computer might provide clues to his location. Leave it for the evidence team, Laurel instructed. They're en route. Your priority is Veronica. Wade hesitated. Pursuing Veronica meant letting Carrington slip away, possibly for good. But if the former assistant director was telling the truth, Veronica's life hung in the balance. I'm heading to those coordinates, he decided. Have your team approach with caution. If Carrington was monitoring the transport remotely, he might warn them of incoming law enforcement. Wade sprinted back to his vehicle, where Elias was already waiting in the driver's seat. Vivian's following the evidence team to process the laptop, Elias explained as they pulled away. Where are we headed? West on I-10, then off-road according to these coordinates, Wade directed. It's remote desert, perfect for making someone disappear. They drove in tense silence, pushing well above the speed limit. Wade's thoughts were tumultuous. After everything Veronica had done, all the pain she had caused, he was now racing to save her life. The irony wasn't lost on him. Highway Patrol has spotted the vehicle, Laurel reported through Wade's phone. They're maintaining visual contact, but not engaging yet. Tell them to keep their distance, Wade advised. These men are likely experienced operators, not random criminals. If they feel cornered, Veronica becomes expendable. Understood. They're turning off the highway now, onto a service road heading into BLM land. Exactly where the coordinates pointed. Wade checked the map on his phone. There's an abandoned mining operation in that area. Isolated, difficult terrain. Perfect for body disposal, Elias noted grimly. They exited the highway at the indicated interchange, following the service road into increasingly rugged terrain. The headlights illuminated dust clouds ahead. Another vehicle had passed recently. Kill the lights, Wade instructed. We'll approach the final stretch dark. Elias complied, navigating by moonlight and the faint glow of the vehicle's instruments. The service road deteriorated into little more than a rocky trail, forcing them to slow considerably. Half a mile ahead, Wade murmured, checking the GPS, we should continue on foot from here. They parked behind an outcropping of rocks and proceeded cautiously, weapons ready. The desert night was silent except for the occasional call of a coyote in the distance. As they crested a small rise, Wade spotted the Suburban parked near what appeared to be an abandoned mine shaft. 2 men were unloading something from the back, a body wrapped in a tarp. Veronica, Wade signaled to Elias, indicating they would split up to approach from different angles. Elias nodded, slipping into the shadows to circle around to the other side of the clearing. Wade took a position behind a cluster of rocks, observing the men through his night vision scope. Both were armed with handguns, moving with the practiced efficiency of professionals. One was tall and lean, the other stocky with a military-style haircut. Neither matched Carrington's description. The tarp-wrapped figure moved slightly. Veronica was alive and conscious. "Get her up," the taller man ordered, his voice carrying in the still desert air. "The shaft is another 100 yards that way." "Why not just do it here?" the stocky one complained, gesturing to the empty desert around them. "Because those are our orders. The shaft is over 300 feet deep. No one will find her for decades, if ever." Wade touched his comm, 2 armed targets, moving a live hostage toward the mine shaft. "I'm engaging. Elias, cover the vehicle in case there's a third man we haven't spotted." "Copy that," Elias whispered back. "I have eyes on the targets." Wade waited until the men had moved away from the Suburban, into the darkest part of their journey between vehicles and mine shaft. When they were midway, he made his move. The first shot came from Elias, a tranquilizer dart that caught the stocky man in the neck. He stumbled, reaching for his weapon before collapsing face first into the dirt. The taller man reacted instantly, dropping his end of the tarp and spinning toward the source of the attack. Wade emerged from cover, his voice cutting through the night. "Federal agent, drop your weapon." The man hesitated only a fraction of a second before raising his gun. Wade fired twice, center mass. The man crumpled, his unfired weapon falling from his grasp. Wade approached cautiously, securing both weapons before checking the fallen man. The tranquilized one was breathing steadily. The other was still alive, but fading fast. "Elias, secure the perimeter. Make sure we're alone," Wade instructed before kneeling beside the tarp. He carefully unwrapped it, revealing Veronica bound with zip ties, a gag in her mouth, eyes wide with fear and confusion. "It's me," Wade said, removing the gag and cutting her restraints. "Can you walk?" Veronica coughed, dragging in a deep breath. "I think so." Her voice was hoarse, her normally perfect composure shattered. "How did you find me?" "Carrington told me where to look." Confusion flashed across her face. "Carrington? He's the one who ordered this." "I heard them talking." Wade helped her to her feet. "It's complicated. Are you hurt?" She shook her head, though she winced when putting weight on her right ankle. "Just roughed up." They weren't gentle during the transfer. Elias returned, holstering his weapon. "Perimeter's clear. No sign of backup or surveillance." "We need to move," Wade said. "Laurel has highway patrol units in the area, but we can't be sure Carrington isn't monitoring their communications." As they helped Veronica toward their vehicle, the wounded man stirred, blood bubbling from his lips. "You're too late," he gasped, a macabre smile twisting his features. "Check the transport vehicle." Wade tensed, glancing toward the Suburban. "Elias, keep them moving. I'll check it out." "Could be a trap," Elias warned. "That's why you're not coming with me," Wade replied, already moving toward the vehicle. The Suburban appeared ordinary from the outside, but Wade approached with caution, scanning for tripwires or pressure plates. Finding none, he carefully opened the driver's door. Nothing happened. The interior was standard-issue federal transport equipment, with a cage separating the front and rear compartments. Wade checked under the seats, in the glove compartment behind the sun visors. Nothing unusual. He was about to dismiss the dying man's words as a desperate distraction when he noticed a small blinking light under the dashboard. Moving closer, he discovered a military-grade explosive device hardwired into the vehicle's electrical system. The timer read 2:17, 2:16, 2:15. Wade immediately retreated, sprinting back to where Elias was helping Veronica into their SUV. "Bomb!" he shouted. "Get down!" They barely had time to take cover behind a rocky outcropping before the Suburban erupted in a massive fireball, the concussion wave washing over them with intense heat and debris. As the initial explosion subsided, a secondary detonation sent a column of flame skyward. The blast had been powerful enough to collapse the nearby mine shaft entrance, sending a plume of dust into the night sky. "Anyone hurt?" Wade called out, checking himself for injuries. "We're good," Elias confirmed, though Veronica looked shaken by the near miss. "That was meant for us," Wade realized. If we'd spent more time examining the vehicle or tried to transport the men in it, we'd be vaporized, Elias finished grimly. Carrington's tying up loose ends. Veronica's face had gone pale. He never intended for me to survive, did he? Or you either. This whole thing was a setup. Most likely, Wade agreed. But it backfired. Now we have you, alive, and able to testify against both Floyd and Carrington. They made their way back to their vehicle, Veronica limping between them. In the distance, sirens wailed as highway patrol and FBI units responded to the explosion. What happens now? Veronica asked as they drove away from the scene, leaving the cleanup to Laurel's teams. Now, Wade said, we finish this. Chapter 7. The Long Shadows. Dawn broke over the mountains as Wade stared out the window of the safe house in Flagstaff. The events of the past night, Veronica's rescue, the explosion, the continuing hunt for Carrington, had left him exhausted but alert, that familiar combat readiness humming through his veins. Behind him, seated at the kitchen table, Veronica sipped a cup of tea that Vivian had prepared. Her designer clothes had been replaced with borrowed sweats, her makeup gone, hair pulled back in a simple ponytail. She looked smaller somehow, more like the young woman Wade had first met 2 decades ago than the polished socialite she'd become. "How's the ankle?" he asked without turning. "Better. Dr. Cole knows her field." Veronica's voice held a note of grudging respect for Vivian, who had treated her injuries upon their arrival at the safe house. Wade turned from the window. "Laurel will be here in an hour to take your official statement. I suggest you tell her everything. No holding back information as leverage. I'm not the enemy anymore, Wade." Veronica set down her cup. "Floyd tried to have me killed. Twice, apparently. That doesn't erase the past 8 years. Or your role in everything Floyd did." She met his gaze evenly. "No, it doesn't. I've made my choices, and I'll face the consequences. But right now, we have a common enemy." Wade couldn't argue with that logic. Floyd might be in jail, but through Carrington and other allies, he was still dangerous. The attack at the hospital, the attempt on Veronica's life, these weren't the actions of a defeated man. Elias entered from the back room, where he'd been communicating with Theo. "We've got something." Theo tracked the signal from the laptop at the storage unit. It was bounced through multiple servers, but he managed to narrow the origin to somewhere in Nevada, likely Las Vegas. "That fits," Veronica interjected. "Floyd has properties there under shell companies. A penthouse at the Palermo, a ranch outside Henderson." Wade and Elias exchanged glances. "You never mentioned these properties before," Wade noted. "Because they're not in any official records," Veronica explained. "Floyd kept them for special circumstances. Very few people know about them. And you think Carrington might be using one as a hideout? It's possible. Floyd would have given him emergency protocols, secure locations, resources." Wade considered this new information. If Carrington is in Vegas, that's outside Laurel's immediate jurisdiction. He need local FBI cooperation, which could be risky if Floyd has other contacts in the Bureau. "So what's the play?" Elias asked. Before Wade could answer, Wrench appeared in the doorway, leaning on her crutch. "If you boys are planning a field trip to Vegas, count me in. My leg's feeling better." "You're staying here," Wade said firmly. "The hell I am," Wrench shot back. "I didn't get shot just to sit on the sidelines for the finale." Their discussion was interrupted by Vivian, who entered with a medical kit. "No one's going anywhere until we've assessed the situation properly. And Maggie, you're absolutely not field ready, so stop pretending." Wrench scowled, but didn't argue further. Vivian had that effect on people, her medical authority rarely questioned even by the most stubborn patients. "Wade," Vivian continued, "a word in private?" They stepped outside onto the cabin's small porch. The morning air was crisp, pine-scented, a stark contrast to the tension inside. "This is getting out of hand," Vivian said without preamble. "Carrington isn't just some corrupt FBI agent. He's a highly trained professional with resources and nothing to lose." "I'm aware of the risks," Wade replied. "Are you?" "Because I'm seeing the same pattern as Afghanistan. You're fixating on the mission to the exclusion of everything else, including your own safety and the well-being of your team." The comparison stung, not least because there was truth in it. In Kandahar, Wade had pushed his team relentlessly, driven by intel that later proved to be compromised. The resulting ambush had cost lives and ended careers. This is different, he insisted. Floyd and Carrington won't stop until everyone who can testify against them is eliminated. That includes Brooke. Vivian's expression softened slightly. I understand the stakes. I just want you to proceed with caution. Don't let vengeance cloud your judgment. It's not about vengeance anymore, Wade said, though even to his own ears, the denial rang hollow. It's about justice. For Martin Frost, for all the others they've hurt. Vivian studied him for a long moment. Just promise me one thing. Before you make any decisions, ask yourself, what would Brooke want you to do? The question lingered as they returned inside. Laurel had arrived during their conversation, already taking Veronica's statement in the kitchen. The agent looked tired but focused, recording every detail Veronica provided about Floyd's organization, Carrington's involvement, and the properties in Nevada. These locations in Las Vegas, Laurel said, will need to coordinate with the field office there. Discreetly, given what we know about potential leaks. Time is critical, Wade pointed out. Carrington knows we're closing in. He'll be making moves. Laurel nodded. I've put protective details on everyone connected to the case. Brooke is still secure, as is Preston. Blackwell has been moved to a different facility under an alias. What about Floyd himself? Vivian asked. If Carrington is acting on his behalf, they must be communicating somehow. Floyd's under lockdown, all privileges suspended. No visitors, no phone calls, no mail. Laurel paused, but that doesn't mean he's isolated. People like Floyd always have contingencies. Wade's phone rang. Theo. We've got movement, Theo reported without preamble. Large withdrawal from one of Floyd's hidden accounts. 500,000 converted to cryptocurrency within the hour. Carrington, Wade guessed, getting ready to disappear. Most likely, the transaction originated from a private terminal at a boutique hotel in Henderson, just outside Vegas. The ranch, Veronica confirmed. It's near Henderson. That has to be where Carrington is operating from. Wade made a quick decision. Theo, book us on the next flight to Vegas. Private if possible, commercial if necessary. We move in 3 hours. Already on it, Theo assured him before hanging up. Laurel looked troubled. Wade, I can't officially sanction this. If you go after Carrington without proper authorization, then don't sanction it, Wade interrupted. Consider us private citizens following a lead. If it pans out, the FBI Las Vegas field office gets the credit for the arrest. And if it doesn't pan out, Laurel challenged. If this goes sideways, I won't be able to protect you. We're not asking for protection, Wade stated. Just don't get in our way. The preparations moved quickly after that. Theo arranged a private flight from Flagstaff to Henderson Executive Airport. Elias and Vivian gathered equipment and supplies. Wrench, despite her protests, would remain at the safe house with direct communication links to coordinate logistics. Veronica, having completed her statement, approached Wade as he was checking his gear. I want to come with you, she said. Wade looked up in surprise. That's not happening. I know the ranch, the layout, the security systems, the protocols. You need me. What I need is for you to stay here where it's safe. Your testimony is crucial to building a case against Floyd and Carrington. Veronica's eyes flashed with determination. This isn't just about testimony anymore. Floyd tried to have me killed. After everything I did for him, everything I sacrificed, my daughter barely speaks to me. My life is in ruins. Her voice cracked slightly. I want to see this through. I need to. Wade studied her, seeing beyond the polished exterior to the wounded, angry woman beneath. This won't redeem you, Veronica. Nothing will erase what you've done. I know that, she replied, her voice steady once more. But it might be a start. Against his better judgment, Wade agreed. Veronica's knowledge of the ranch could prove invaluable, and keeping her close meant they could monitor her actions. As they boarded the small private jet 3 hours later, Wade received a text from Brooke. Heard about what happened last night. Are you okay? He replied simply, I'm fine. We'll call when I can. Stay safe. His daughter's concern was unexpected but welcome. Perhaps there was hope for rebuilding their relationship after all. The flight to Henderson was brief and uneventful. Upon landing, they split into two teams. Wade, Elias, and Veronica would approach the ranch, while Theo and Vivian established a command post at a nearby motel. Remember, this is reconnaissance only, Wade emphasized as they prepared. We confirm Carrington's presence, gather evidence of his activities, then call on Laurel and the local FBI. Elias nodded, though his expression suggested skepticism about the mission remaining so limited. The ranch was located in a remote area east of Henderson, surrounded by undeveloped desert land that provided natural isolation. A single-access road led to the property, which was enclosed by high walls with security cameras visible at regular intervals. They parked their rented SUV a mile away, approaching the final stretch on foot. The afternoon sun beat down mercilessly as they traversed the rocky terrain, using the natural contours for cover. Two guards at the main gate, Elias reported, observing through binoculars. Another patrolling the perimeter. Professional setups, not rent-a-cops. Floyd only hires the best, Veronica confirmed. Ex-military mostly, well paid for their discretion. Where do we get in? Wade asked. Veronica pointed to a spot along the eastern wall. Service entrance there. It's used for deliveries, waste removal. Less monitored than the main gate, though still secure. And you know the access codes? Elias asked. I knew them, Veronica corrected. They might have been changed, but Floyd was always predictable with his security protocols. He used significant dates, figures from financial statements. It's our best option, Wade decided. We'll approach after dark. They retreated to a concealed position to wait for nightfall, maintaining surveillance on the property. Wade used the time to check in with Theo and coordinated with Laurel, who was en route to Las Vegas with a trusted team. As the sun set, painting the desert in gold and crimson, Wade studied the ranch more carefully. The main house was Spanish-style, expansive but not ostentatious, designed to blend with the landscape rather than dominate it. Several outbuildings dotted the property, along with a helipad and what appeared to be a garage large enough for multiple vehicles. Movement at the front gate, Elias reported suddenly. Vehicle approaching. Black Range Rover, tinted windows. Through their binoculars, they watched as the gates swung open. The vehicle proceeded up the drive to the main house. Can you see who's inside? Wade asked. Negative. Windows too dark. The Range Rover parked, and two men emerged, security types, openly carrying weapons. They scanned the area before a third figure exited the vehicle, Thomas Carrington. Confirmed visual, Wade murmured into his comm link. Carrington is on site. Veronica tensed beside him. There's someone else in the car. Look, a fourth person emerged, and Wade felt his blood run cold. Despite the distance, there was no mistaking that confident posture, that silver hair. That's impossible, he whispered. That's Floyd. He's supposed to be in federal custody, Elias said, equally stunned. Veronica's face had gone pale. He got out. Somehow he got out. The implications were staggering. If Floyd had escaped federal custody, it meant his influence extended even further than they'd realized. It meant the entire system was more corrupted than anyone had suspected. Wade immediately called Laurel, who answered on the first ring. We have a situation, he began without preamble. Floyd Pearson is at the ranch, not in custody. There was a moment of stunned silence before Laurel responded. That's not possible. I personally confirmed his status an hour ago. He's still in his cell. Then who the hell did I just watch walk into that house? I don't know, Laurel admitted. But I'll find out. Don't make any moves until I get there. That's an order, Wade. After hanging up, Wade shared Laurel's information with the others. Something's not adding up. Either Floyd has a body double or the man in federal custody isn't Floyd. Elias finished grimly. Veronica looked thoughtful. There might be another explanation. Floyd has a twin brother. Wade stared at her in disbelief. A twin brother? You never thought to mention this before. Because they've been estranged for decades, Veronica explained. Lloyd Pearson. They had some falling out in their 20s. Lloyd moved abroad, wanted nothing to do with Floyd or his business. Yet he looks identical enough to potentially fool a prison system. Elias sounded skeptical. They're identical twins, Veronica confirmed. And Lloyd had financial troubles a few years back. Floyd helped him out quietly. It was one of the few times I ever saw him show genuine concern for someone else. Wade processed this new information. So either Floyd somehow swapped places with his brother, or Lloyd is here to help Floyd in some way, Veronica concluded. Either possibility is troubling. Their deliberation was interrupted by a new development at the ranch. Several more vehicles had arrived, disgorging men with military bearing and visible weapons. The security presence was increasing dramatically. This isn't just a hideout, Elias observed. It started to look like a defensive position. Wade agreed. The influx of personnel suggested preparation, either for an attack or for departure. Either way, time was running out. His phone vibrated with a text from Theo. Massive data transfer detected from property. Someone's downloading or uploading substantial files. They're gathering evidence or destroying it, Wade realized. We need to move now. What about Laurel's order to wait? Elias reminded him. Wade made his decision. If we wait, whatever's happening inside might be completed. We proceed with infiltration as planned. Maintain surveillance only unless directly threatened. As darkness fell completely, they made their approach to the service entrance Veronica had identified. The perimeter patrol patterns were predictable, allowing them to time their movements between sweeps. The access panel at the service entrance was modern but not cutting edge. A standard keypad with an 8-digit code. Any ideas? Wade asked Veronica. She studied it thoughtfully. Try 061-82015. The date Floyd's company went public, combined with the stock's opening price. Wade entered the code, holding his breath. The light remained red. He changed it, Veronica murmured. Try 100-31967. His brother's birthday. Again, no success. One more try before it likely triggers a silent alarm, Elias warned. Veronica closed her eyes, thinking. 04272022. The date he met Senator Aldridge, combined with the amount of their first transaction. Wade entered the numbers carefully. The light turned green, and the small service door clicked open. Impressive, Elias acknowledged. I told you. Floyd is predictable with his security, Veronica replied. He values efficiency over creativity. They slipped inside the compound, staying close to the shadows of the perimeter wall. The increased security presence meant more eyes watching, but also more confusion about who belonged where. Using the outbuildings for cover, they worked their way closer to the main house. Through windows, they could see movement inside, people gathering in what appeared to be a large study or office. We need to get closer, hear what they're saying, Wade decided. Elias produced a small device from his pack. Directional microphone. If we can get within 50 feet of an open window or thin wall, we might pick up conversation. They positioned themselves beside a decorative fountain near the house, using the sound of running water and nearby vegetation as concealment. Elias aimed the microphone toward the study windows. Fragments of conversation became audible, broken, but revealing. Timeline has accelerated. Carrington's voice. Witnesses eliminated before. A different voice, presumably Floyd. Extraction team confirmed for midnight. Carrington again. Donovan is still a problem. Floyd. Daughter as leverage if necessary. Carrington. At the mention of Brooke, Wade tensed. Beside him, he felt Veronica go rigid. They're planning to use Brooke against us, she whispered, horror evident in her voice. Wade checked his watch. 9:47 p.m. Just over 2 hours before whatever extraction was planned for midnight. We need to warn Laurel, he said, reaching for his phone. But before he could make the call, a security spotlight swept across the garden, momentarily illuminating their position. A shout went up from one of the guards, followed by the unmistakable sound of weapons being readied. We've been made, Elias said tersely. Time to go. They retreated toward the service entrance, moving as quickly as stealth would allow. Behind them, guards were mobilizing, voices calling out positions and directions. They had almost reached the perimeter wall when a figure stepped out from behind an outbuilding, blocking their path. "Hold it right there," the man ordered, weapon raised. Wade calculated options rapidly. The guard was alone, but any confrontation would alert others to their exact position. To his surprise, Veronica stepped forward. "Stand down, Morris," she said in a tone of absolute authority. "Mr. Pearson sent us to test security protocols. You just failed." The guard, Morris, hesitated, visibly confused. "Mrs. Pearson? We were told you were in federal custody." "Obviously, I'm not," Veronica replied coldly. "Now lower your weapon before I report this incompetence to Mr. Pearson personally." The guard slowly lowered his gun, still uncertain. "I should call this in, ma'am." "By all means," Veronica agreed. "Tell them you detained Mrs. Pearson and her security team while conducting a standard perimeter sweep. See how that goes for your career." The bluff was bold, relying on the guard's hesitation and the chain of command. It worked. Morris stepped aside, though his expression remained suspicious. They continued toward the service entrance, maintaining a confident pace rather than the rushed retreat they desperately wanted to make. That was quick thinking, Wade acknowledged once they were safely outside the compound. "I recognized him," Veronica explained. "Morris Keegan. He's been with Floyd's security team for years. Not the brightest, but loyal. He'll report the encounter," Elias pointed out. "They'll know we were here, which means we need to move fast," Wade agreed, already calling Laurel. The situation just got a lot more complicated. Chapter 8. The Black Box. "Absolutely not," Laurel said firmly. They were gathered in a suite at the Henderson Executive Airport Hotel, hastily converted into an operations center. Maps and surveillance photos of the ranch covered one wall, while computers monitored security feeds and communications. "Floyd is planning something major for midnight," Wade argued. "An extraction, possibly international, if he leaves U.S. jurisdiction." "I understand the urgency," Laurel interrupted. "But a direct assault on a heavily fortified compound, based on fragments of overheard conversation? It's too risky, especially with the complications you've discovered." The complications she referred to were substantial. Laurel had confirmed that the Floyd Pearson in federal custody appeared to be legitimate based on fingerprints and DNA. Yet Wade, Elias, and Veronica had all seen someone identical to Floyd at the ranch. "The twin brother theory is our best explanation," Theo offered from behind his laptop. "I've been digging into Lloyd Pearson. He's lived off the grid for years, but there are records of him receiving substantial wire transfers from shell companies connected to Floyd. So Floyd is using his brother as some kind of double," Vivian surmised. "But for what purpose?" "Plausible deniability," Wade suggested. "If Lloyd is caught doing something illegal, Floyd maintains his distance. A contingency plan. Or a distraction," Elias added. "Keep us focused on the ranch while something else happens elsewhere." Laurel checked her watch, 10:43 p.m. "Whatever they're planning, we have just over an hour to prevent it. I have a tactical team assembled, but I need more than fragmented conversations before I can authorize an operation." "What about the threat to Brooke?" Wade pressed. "They specifically mentioned using her as leverage. I've already increased her security detail and moved her to a different safe house," Laurel assured him. "She's secure." Veronica, who had been quiet since their return from the ranch, suddenly spoke up. "There's something else we should consider. The black box." All eyes turned to her. "What black box?" Laurel asked. "Floyd's insurance policy," Veronica explained. "A secure server containing sensitive information on everyone he's ever dealt with. Politicians, judges, business leaders, foreign contacts. Enough compromising material to destroy hundreds of careers and potentially destabilize markets." "And you just mentioning this now?" Wade demanded. Veronica met his gaze steadily. "Because Floyd never told me where it was located, just that it existed and would activate automatically if certain conditions were met, such as his arrest and imprisonment," Theo reasoned. "Exactly. But he always maintained personal control over the activation sequence. If he's planning to flee the country tonight, he might trigger the release of that information as a final act of vengeance against those he believes betrayed him." The implications were staggering. If Floyd released damaging information on hundreds of powerful figures simultaneously, the chaos could be unprecedented. Can we trace this server? Laurel asked Theo. He looked doubtful. Without knowing where to start. Unlikely in the time we have. Floyd would have used multiple layers of security, proxy servers, time delay protocols. But if we could access his personal devices at the ranch, Veronica suggested. We might find the location or the abort codes, Theo finished, understanding her logic. Laurel still looked skeptical. That's a big if, and it still requires entering a hostile compound with minimal intelligence. Wade considered the problem from different angles. What if we had more intelligence? A way to confirm what's happening inside without a direct approach. I'm listening, Laurel said. Wade turned to Theo. The ranch has security cameras. Can you hack into their feed? Unlikely in this time frame. They'd be on a closed circuit, not connected to external networks. But the property does have internet access, Elias pointed out. You detected that data transfer earlier, which means there might be other connected devices we could access, Theo acknowledged, already typing furiously. Smartphones, laptops, home automation systems. Focus on Carrington, Wade suggested. He's been on the run, making calls, transferring funds. He's more likely to have used non-secure systems than Floyd. For tense minutes, they watched Theo work, his fingers flying across the keyboard, screens filling with code. Finally, he let out a small sound of triumph. Got something. Carrington's phone is connected to the ranch's Wi-Fi. I can't access the phone directly, but I can see the network traffic. He's been researching private airfields in Mexico and wire transfer protocols to Cayman Island banks. That confirms the extraction plan, Laurel acknowledged. There's more, Theo continued. Recurring video calls to an account registered to Gabriel Harmon. Harmon? Floyd's attorney. Wade was confused. He's supposed to be missing, possibly dead. The account is active, Theo confirmed. Last call was 30 minutes ago from a location in... He paused, double-checking his screen. Tucson, Arizona. The room went silent as the implications sank in. That's where Brooks' safe house is located, Wade said, his voice dangerously calm. Laurel was already on her phone, ordering an immediate security check on the safe house. The tension in the room was palpable as they waited for confirmation. When it came, it was worse than they'd feared. Security team is not responding, Laurel reported, her professional demeanor cracking slightly. Local police are en route, but we have to assume the safe house has been compromised. Wade felt ice form in his veins. They have Brooke. Beside him, Veronica had gone pale. And Preston? Unknown, Laurel admitted. The last scheduled check-in showed both were secure, but that was over 2 hours ago. The situation had shifted dramatically. What had been a complex legal and tactical problem was now deeply personal. This changes our approach, Wade stated, his military training taking over. We need to split our focus, the ranch and Tucson. I agree, Laurel said, surprising everyone. I'll take the tactical team to the ranch. We'll move on the compound at 11:30, secure Floyd, Carrington, and any evidence of the black box. While we go to Tucson, Wade concluded. No, Laurel corrected. Just you and Veronica. Elias stays here to provide tactical support for my team. Theo and Vivian coordinate between both operations. It was a logical division of resources, though Wade was surprised by Laurel's inclusion of Veronica in the Tucson team. She's still a federal witness in protective custody, he pointed out. A witness whose daughter has been taken, Laurel countered. Besides, who better to negotiate with Floyd's people, if necessary? The plan came together quickly after that. A private jet was arranged to fly Wade and Veronica to Tucson immediately. Laurel's tactical team prepared for the raid on the ranch. Theo established secure communications protocols to coordinate between the operations. As Wade and Veronica prepared to leave, Vivian pulled him aside. This isn't just a rescue mission for you, is it? She asked quietly. It's personal now. It's always been personal, Wade admitted. From a moment, Floyd manipulated my discharge and took my family. Just remember, Brooke needs her father alive. Don't take unnecessary risks. Wade appreciated her concern, but made no promises. If Floyd's people had harmed his daughter, there would be consequences. The flight to Tucson was brief but tense. Wade and Veronica barely spoke, each lost in their own thoughts and fears about Brooke. "This is my fault," Veronica said suddenly as they began their descent. "If I hadn't been so blind, so ambitious, none of this would have happened." Wade studied her in the dim cabin light. "You made your choices, Veronica. So did Floyd. So did I. But Brooke didn't choose any of this. She's innocent. Yes, she is. Which is why we're going to get her back." By the time they landed, Theo had managed to track Gabriel Harmon's phone to a warehouse district on the outskirts of Tucson. Local FBI agents provided them with weapons, vests, and a vehicle, but would wait for Wade's signal before moving in, a precaution in case Brooke was being held as a hostage. The warehouse was an unassuming concrete structure in an industrial park, dark except for a single light visible through a high window. They parked a block away, approaching on foot. 2 guards at the main entrance. Wade observed through his night vision scope. Another patrolling the perimeter. Similar setup to the ranch, but less manpower. "Where do we get in?" Veronica asked. Wade pointed to a loading dock on the building's east side. "Service entrance. Minimal visibility from the guard positions. We'll need a distraction." He quickly outlined a plan. Veronica would create a distraction at the front entrance while Wade entered through the loading dock. Once inside, he would locate Brooke while Veronica maintained the guard's attention. "Are you sure you can handle this?" he asked, noting her nervous expression. Veronica squared her shoulders. "For Brooke? Yes." They separated, moving to their respective positions. Wade watched as Veronica approached the front of the warehouse, stumbling slightly as if intoxicated or lost. "Excuse me," he heard her call to the guards. "I think I'm lost. Can you help me find the Westboro Conference Center?" The guards tensed, weapons ready but not yet raised. One stepped forward while the other spoke into radio. "Ma'am, this is private property. You need to leave immediately." "Oh, I'm so sorry," Veronica continued, moving closer, playing the role of a confused, slightly tipsy woman perfectly. "My GPS must be wrong. Is there someone inside who could give me directions?" Wade used the distraction to slip unseen to the loading dock. The door was locked, but the security was minimal, a standard padlock he could bypass with the tools provided by the FBI team. Once inside, he found himself in a dimly lit storage area filled with shipping crates and forklifts. He moved silently, guided by the building schematics Theo had pulled from county records. The warehouse had a large open floor with offices on a mezzanine level. The light they'd observed came from one of these offices, where shadows moved behind frosted glass. Wade made his way to the metal staircase leading to the mezzanine, careful to avoid the sight lines of a guard stationed near the entrance to the main floor. At the top of the stairs, he pressed against the wall, listening. Voices came from the lit office, a man speaking firmly, another responding with evident frustration. "Can't wait any longer," the first voice was saying. "Midnight extraction means midnight. Not 12:30, not when it's convenient." "The girl is secure," the second voice replied. "But Preston is still unconscious from the transfer. Moving him is risky. That's not my problem." Mr. Pearson was explicit. Wade edged closer to the office door, which was slightly ajar. Through the gap, he could see Gabriel Harmon, very much alive, pacing nervously. Across from him stood a tall man Wade recognized from the ranch security team. But most importantly, he could see Brooke seated in a chair at the far end of the office. She appeared unharmed, though her wrists were bound to the chair arms. Her expression was a mixture of fear and defiance that reminded Wade painfully of himself. He needed to assess the full situation before acting. How many guards were in the building? Where was Preston? Were there other hostages? His earpiece crackled with Veronica's voice. Front distraction complete. Guards diverted to northwest corner. 2 minutes before they returned. That was his window. Wade burst into the office, weapon raised. "Federal agent. Hands where I can see them." Harmon froze, hands instinctively rising. The security man reached for his weapon, but stopped when Wade's aim shifted directly to his forehead. "Dad!" Brooke's voice was shocked, disbelieving. "Are you hurt?" Wade asked her without taking his eyes off the two men. No, but Preston is in the next room. They drugged him. Wade gestured with his weapon. Both of you on the ground. Face down, hands behind your heads. The security man complied slowly, calculating odds that Wade could read in his expression. Harmon simply collapsed, all pretense of confidence evaporating. This wasn't supposed to happen, Harmon babbled as Wade secured them with zip ties. Floyd promised we'd be extracted, given new identities. He said no one would get hurt. Shut up, the security man hissed. Wade quickly checked that both men were securely restrained before moving to Brooke. Are there other guards inside the building? Two more, she replied as he cut her free. One watching Preston, one at the rear exit. Wade touched his comm. Veronica, we have Brooke. Two additional hostiles inside. One guarding a rear exit, one in a secondary office with Preston. I'll alert the FBI team, she responded. ETA, 3 minutes. Brooke's eyes widened at the mention of Veronica. Mom is here. Long story, Wade said. Can you walk? Brooke nodded, rubbing her wrists where the restraints had left marks. Preston first. He needs medical attention. The secondary office was across the mezzanine. Through its window, Wade could see Preston lying motionless on a couch, a guard seated nearby with a weapon across his lap. Stay back, Wade instructed Brooke before approaching the door. The guard looked up immediately when Wade entered, reaching for his weapon, but freezed when he saw the gun aimed at his head. Don't, Wade warned. Hands up, stand slowly, turn around. The guard complied, allowing Wade to secure him with zip ties like the others. As soon as the guard was restrained, Brooke rushed to Preston's side. He's breathing, she reported, checking his pulse. But they injected him with something. He hasn't fully woken up since. Wade examined Preston briefly. His pulse was steady, his breathing regular. Most likely a sedative rather than anything immediately life-threatening. The FBI team will have medical support, he assured Brooke. They'll be here in minutes. From outside came the sound of vehicles arriving, voices calling out commands. The FBI team had moved in early, securing the perimeter. Wade, Veronica's voice came through his earpiece. Harmon's phone is receiving a call from the ranch. It might be Floyd. This was an opportunity they couldn't miss. Wade retrieved Harmon's phone from where it had fallen during the arrest. Answer it, he instructed Harmon. On speaker. One wrong word and you'll regret it. Harmon nodded frantically, accepting the call. Yes, sir. Gabriel. The voice was unmistakably Floyd's. Status report. The packages are secure, Harmon replied, his voice surprisingly steady despite the gun Wade held to his head. Ready for transport as scheduled. Change of plans, Floyd said. The extraction has been moved up. The helicopter will be there in 30 minutes. Be ready. 30 minutes, Harmon repeated. Yes, sir. And Gabriel, once you deliver the packages to the airfield, your services will no longer be required. Understood. The implied threat was clear. Floyd had no intention of taking Harmon with him. The attorney was just another loose end to be eliminated. Understood, sir, Harmon replied, his face ashen. The call ended. Harmon looked up at Wade, the last of his loyalty to Floyd visibly crumbling. He was going to kill me, he said, sounding more bewildered than afraid. After everything I've done for him. That's Floyd's way, Wade confirmed. No loose ends. FBI agents flooded the mezzanine, securing the prisoners and checking the offices. Medical personnel attended to Preston, confirming Wade's assessment of a heavy sedative. In the midst of the controlled chaos, Brooke finally noticed Veronica, who had entered with the FBI team. Mom! Brooke's voice was a mixture of confusion and wariness. Veronica approached cautiously. Are you all right, sweetheart? Brooke nodded uncertainly. What are you doing here? I thought you were in jail. I was. It's complicated. Veronica glanced at Wade. Your father and I, we're working together for now. The reunion was interrupted by Wade's phone ringing. Laurel. The ranch operation was successful, she reported. We have Floyd, Carrington, and Lloyd Pearson in custody. No casualties. And the black box? Wade asked. That's the problem. We found physical evidence confirming its existence, but not the server itself or the abort codes. And according to the documents we seized, it's set to activate at midnight regardless of Floyd's status. Wade checked his watch. 11:42 p.m. Just 18 minutes until whatever devastating information Floyd had collected would be released. "Put Floyd on the phone," he requested. There was a brief pause before Floyd's voice came through, tight with controlled anger. "Wade, I should have known you'd be involved in this. Inconvenience. It's over, Floyd. Your extraction plan failed. Your brother and Carrington are in custody. Harmon and his team are arrested. There's no escape." "Perhaps," Floyd conceded. "But in 18 minutes, my legacy will be secured. The black box will release every secret, crime, indiscretion I've documented over decades. The chaos will be magnificent." "At what cost?" Wade challenged. "Is vengeance worth destroying Brooke's future too? Because she'll be collateral damage when this information goes public." There was a telling silence on the line. "Brooke has nothing to do with this," Floyd finally said. "Doesn't she? You used her fiancé to spy on her. You had her kidnapped to use as leverage. And now you're about to release information that will destroy her mother's reputation beyond what the courts might do. How does Brooke rebuild a life after that?" Wade's strategy was calculated. Despite everything, Floyd had shown occasional genuine concern for Brooke, treating her more like a daughter than a pawn in his games with Wade. "Let me speak to her," Floyd demanded. Wade hesitated, then held out the phone to Brooke. "Floyd wants to talk to you. Your choice." Brooke took the phone, her expression hardening. "Floyd." Whatever Floyd said in response was too quiet for Wade to hear, but Brooke's reaction was clear. "You had me kidnapped," she said, her voice rising. "You had Preston drugged. You tried to have my father killed. And now you want me to what? Forgive you? Understand your difficult position?" She listened for another moment, her expression shifting from anger to disgust. "No, Floyd, I don't accept that. You don't get to destroy more lives and call it a business necessity." Her voice became ice cold, reminding Wade painfully of Veronica at her most formidable. "If you ever cared about me at all, you'll stop this. Now." There was a long silence before Brooke handed the phone back to Wade. "He wants to speak with you again," she said, her voice shaking slightly. Wade took the phone. "Yes." "The abort codes," Floyd said reluctantly. "They're in Veronica's personal safe at the penthouse. The combination is Brooke's birthday." He paused. "This doesn't change anything between us, Wade. When I get out, and I will get out, we'll finish this." "Agreed," Wade replied. "But for now, you've made the right choice." He immediately relayed the information to Theo, who was already working with the FBI cyber team to access the safe and implement the abort codes. The next few minutes were tense as they waited for confirmation. Wade stood with Brooke and Veronica, an unlikely family reunion under the most extreme circumstances. "I don't understand why you helped them find me," Brooke said to Veronica. "After everything." "You're my daughter," Veronica replied simply. "Whatever mistakes I've made, whatever crimes I've committed, that hasn't changed." At 11:58 p.m., Wade's phone rang again. "Theo." "We got it," he reported triumphantly. "Abort codes implemented. The black box has been neutralized." Relief swept through the room. The immediate crisis was over. As Preston was loaded into an ambulance and the prisoners were transported to federal holding facilities, Wade found himself alone with Brooke for the first time since a rescue. "How did you know where to find me?" she asked. "Good intelligence, a bit of luck, and a lot of help," Wade answered honestly. "I would have torn the world apart to find you, Brooke." She studied him for a long moment. "I believe you." Then, hesitantly, "What happens now? With Mom, with Floyd, with everything?" "Now," Wade considered the question. "Now we rebuild. One day at a time." It wasn't a complete answer, but it was an honest one. The road ahead would be difficult. Trials, testimonies, media scrutiny. But for the first time in 8 years, Wade felt something close to hope. The long shadows were receding, and dawn wasn't far away. Chapter 9. The Final Piece. 6 months after the events in Tucson, Wade sat in a federal courthouse in Denver, waiting to testify in Floyd Pearson's trial. The case had attracted national attention, with daily coverage of the proceedings and constant speculation about the outcome. Floyd faced multiple charges: conspiracy, racketeering, attempted murder, kidnapping, obstruction of justice. The evidence against him was overwhelming, bolstered by testimony from former associates eager to reduce their own sentences. Veronica had been the prosecution's star witness, providing detailed accounts of Floyd's criminal activities over the years. Her cooperation had earned her a plea deal, 10 years instead of life, with a possibility of parole after 5. Carrington had also cut a deal, revealing the full extent of corruption within certain sections of the FBI. The scandal had prompted a major internal investigation and reform initiative. Wade's testimony today would focus on the events in Kandahar, the compromised mission, the ambush that killed his teammate, Floyd's connection to intelligence leaks. It was the final piece of the prosecution's case, linking Floyd's business interests abroad to direct harm against U.S. military personnel. As he waited, Wade reviewed his prepared statement. The courtroom doors opened, and Brooke entered, taking a seat in the back row. She offered a small smile of encouragement. Their relationship had improved gradually in the months since a rescue. Weekly dinners, honest conversations, a mutual willingness to move forward rather than dwell on past grievances. It wasn't perfect, but it was progress. Preston was with her, having recovered fully from the sedatives administered during his kidnapping. The revelations about his initial role in Floyd's organization had been difficult for Brooke to accept, but his subsequent actions, refusing to participate in more serious crimes, protecting Brooke when possible, had earned him a second chance. The wedding had been postponed indefinitely, but they remained engaged, cautiously rebuilding trust. Wade was called to the stand shortly before noon. As he was sworn in, he caught sight of Floyd at the defense table, impeccably dressed as always, his expression neutral. Their eyes met briefly, mutual recognition of adversaries. The prosecutor led Wade through his testimony, establishing his military background, his expertise in intelligence operations, the circumstances of the Kandahar mission. Then came the critical questions about Floyd's involvement. Major Donovan, based on the evidence you've reviewed, including communications between Floyd Pearson and Colonel Hargrove, what is your assessment of Mr. Pearson's role in the ambush that resulted in the death of Specialist Torres? Wade answered clearly, emotion controlled but evident. Floyd Pearson provided Colonel Hargrove with financial incentives to leak intelligence about our unit's movements in Kandahar province. This information was then sold to local militia groups with connections to Pearson's mining interests in the region. And the purpose of this intelligence sharing? To eliminate oversight of Mr. Pearson's illegal extraction operations. Our unit was investigating corruption in the provincial security forces, which would have eventually exposed Pearson's activities. The cross-examination was aggressive but ineffective. Floyd's attorney attempted to portray Wade as obsessed with revenge, his testimony tainted by personal grudges. But the documentary evidence was too strong, the corroborating witnesses too numerous. When Wade was finally dismissed, he felt a weight lift from his shoulders. The truth about Kandahar was now public record, no longer a festering wound, but a documented injustice on its way to resolution. Outside the courtroom, he found his team waiting: Theo, Elias, Wrench, and Vivian. They had all testified earlier in the trial, each providing pieces of the complex puzzle that was Floyd Pearson's criminal enterprise. "Well done in there, Chief," Wrench said, her leg now healed though she still walked with a slight limp. "The jury was convinced," Elias added. "You could see it in their faces." "It's not over yet," Wade cautioned. "Closing arguments tomorrow, then deliberation. The outcome is inevitable," Theo assured him. "Floyd's going away for life. The only question is whether he'll get consecutive or concurrent sentences." They dispersed shortly after, each returning to the lives they'd rebuilt in the aftermath. Elias had accepted a position with a private security firm specializing in corporate intelligence. Wrench had retired to Montana, where she trained service dogs for veterans. Theo had expanded his cybersecurity business, now contracting with federal agencies to improve their digital defenses. Vivian had perhaps changed the least, continuing her medical practice while serving as a consultant on trauma cases. She and Wade had cautiously renewed their friendship, occasional dinners, and long conversations about everything except the case. As the others left, Brooke approached with Preston. "You did well, Dad," she said. "It couldn't have been easy revisiting Kandahar like that." "It was necessary," Wade replied. "For closure, if nothing else." Preston extended his hand somewhat awkwardly. "Mr. Donovan, I wanted to thank you again for what you did in Tucson, for saving us both." Wade accepted the handshake, still reserving judgment on the young man who had initially entered Brooke's life under false pretenses. "How's the new job?" he asked. After the scandal broke, Preston had been disbarred, his legal career in ruins. But he'd found work with a nonprofit organization helping veterans navigate the complexities of the benefits system, a position Wade had quietly helped secure through his military contacts. Challenging, Preston admitted, but rewarding. These men and women deserve better than what the system often provides. Wade nodded, recognizing the genuine commitment in Preston's voice. People could change given the right motivation and opportunity. His own journey over the past 8 years was testament to that. "Dad," Brooke said, "we're having dinner tonight at that new place on 16th Street. Would you like to join us?" The invitation was casual but significant. The first time she had included him in plans with Preston outside their scheduled family dinners. "I'd like that," Wade accepted. 7 o'clock. After confirming details, Brooke and Preston left for a meeting with his probation officer. Wade watched them go, still marveling at how much had changed in 6 months. His phone rang. Laurel Winters. "Just checking in," she said when he answered. "How did it go today?" "As expected. The prosecution built a solid case. Your team did good work." Laurel had been promoted following the Carrington investigation, now leading a special task force on public corruption. Their professional relationship had evolved into a tentative friendship, built on mutual respect and shared experiences. "The director asked me to convey his personal thanks for your testimony. It can't have been easy revisiting those events." "It wasn't," Wade acknowledged, "but it was necessary for Torres's family, if nothing else." After finishing the call, Wade decided to walk back to his apartment rather than take a cab. The afternoon was pleasant, early summer in Denver bringing clear skies and moderate temperatures. As he walked, he reflected on how much his life had changed. His security consulting business had grown, partly due to the publicity surrounding the case, but mostly through referrals from satisfied clients. He'd moved to a better apartment in a quieter neighborhood. Most importantly, he'd reconnected with Brooke. There were still difficult days, moments when the past threatened to overwhelm the present. Nightmares about Kandahar hadn't completely disappeared. The physical reminders, his scarred face, the occasional pain in his leg, would always be with him. But the consuming rage that had driven him for 8 years had largely dissipated, replaced by something closer to peace. Not forgiveness, perhaps, but acceptance of what had happened and determination to build something better. Near his apartment building, Wade spotted a familiar figure waiting on a bench. Veronica, elegant even in the simple clothes allowed for her court appearances. "I thought your testimony was scheduled for tomorrow," he said, approaching cautiously. "It was postponed," she replied. "The prosecution wanted to end today with your testimony about Kandahar. For maximum impact." Wade sat beside her, maintaining a respectful distance. "Smart strategy. Always was your specialty," Veronica acknowledged. "Strategy, I mean, seeing the bigger picture." They sat in silence for a moment, the weight of their shared history hanging between them. "I saw Brooke in the courtroom," Veronica finally said. "She looked well. She is, all things considered. The trauma counseling has helped." "Good." Veronica's voice held genuine relief. "That's good." Wade studied her profile, noting the subtle changes 6 months in federal custody had wrought. She was still beautiful, still composed, but there was a new humility in her bearing, a quieter dignity than the brittle arrogance she'd cultivated as Floyd's wife. "Why are you here, Veronica?" he asked directly. She turned to face him. "To apologize, which is something I should have done a long time ago." The statement caught Wade off guard. In all their recent interactions, during the investigation, the preparations for trial, Veronica had been cooperative but not contrite. "I'm listening," he said neutrally. "I'm sorry, Wade." Her voice was steady, her gaze direct. "For choosing Floyd over our marriage. for believing his lies about your discharge, for keeping Brooke from you, for all of it. The apology was simple but comprehensive. Wade considered how to respond. "Why now?" he asked finally. "Because tomorrow I'll be sentenced," Veronica explained. "And while 10 years with possibility of parole is better than life without, it's still a long time. I needed you to hear this before I go away." She paused. "I needed to say it for myself, too." Wade nodded, understanding. "I accept your apology, Veronica. But forgiveness, that's a journey, not a destination." "I know," she said quietly. "I don't expect forgiveness. Just acknowledgement that I recognize the harm I caused." They fell silent again, watching people pass by on the street. Couples, families, individuals, all living their ordinary lives, unaware of the extraordinary drama playing out in the courthouse downtown. "I spoke with Brooke this morning," Veronica continued. "She's agreed to visit me in prison. Monthly at first, then we'll see." "That's good," Wade said sincerely. "She needs both her parents, however complicated our circumstances." Veronica nodded, then stood to leave. "The marshals are waiting. I should go." Wade rose as well. "Good luck tomorrow." "You too. I hope the jury gives Floyd exactly what he deserves." A flash of the old fire showed in her eyes. Consecutive sentences, maximum security, no parole. The comment drew a small smile from Wade. Some things never change completely. As Veronica walked toward the waiting marshals, she paused and turned back. "One more thing. I want you to know I never stopped caring about you, Wade. My choices were wrong, my priorities distorted, but that truth remains." Before he could respond, she continued to the marshal's vehicle, her posture straight, her pace measured. The Veronica he had once loved glimpsed briefly through the woman she had become. The next day, Wade returned to the courthouse for closing arguments. The prosecution's case was methodical and damning, the defense's rebuttal weak and disjointed. Even Floyd seemed resigned, his customary confidence notably diminished. The jury deliberated for just 3 hours before returning with guilty verdicts on all counts. The judge scheduled sentencing for the following month, but indicated the severity of the crimes would merit the maximum penalties allowed by law. As Floyd was led from the courtroom, he locked eyes with Wade one final time. No words were exchanged, none needed. Their long battle had reached its conclusion. Outside, reporters swarmed the courthouse steps, clamoring for statements from prosecutors, defense attorneys, witnesses. Wade slipped away unnoticed, preferring privacy to publicity. He found Brooke waiting at a quiet cafe 2 blocks away. "It's done," he said simply as he joined her. She nodded, relief evident in her expression. "I know. I watched the verdict announcement on the cafe's TV." They ordered coffee, falling into the comfortable routine they'd established over recent months. "I saw Mom yesterday," Brooke mentioned. "She apologized to me. Really apologized. Not just the surface regret she's shown before. She came to see me too," Wade revealed. "Same purpose. Do you think she's genuinely changed?" Wade considered the question carefully. "I think the consequences of her actions have finally registered. Whether that constitutes genuine change, time will tell." Brooke stirred her coffee, contemplative. "Preston asked about inviting you to dinner next week. Just the 3 of us at our place." "I'd like that," Wade said, recognizing the olive branch for what it was. They talked for another hour, touching on various topics. Brooke's plans to return to graduate school, Preston's progress at the nonprofit, Wade's expanding business. As they prepared to leave, Brooke hesitated, then asked the question that had clearly been on her mind. "What now, Dad? With Floyd convicted, Mom's sentenced, the whole case resolved. What comes next for you?" It was a profound question, one Wade had been asking himself for weeks. For 8 years, his life had been defined by the pursuit of justice against Floyd. That mission was now complete. The void it left was both liberating and terrifying. "I'm not entirely sure," he admitted. "Rebuild, like I said before. Focus on the security business. Spend time with you. Maybe travel a bit." "Travel where?" "Kandahar, perhaps," Wade said thoughtfully. "To visit Torres's grave. Pay my respects properly." Brooke reached across the table, taking his hand. "I could go with you if you want, if it would help." The offer touched him deeply. "I'd like that. Thank you." As they walked out into the summer afternoon, Wade felt a sense of completion he hadn't experienced in years. The revenge he had sought had ultimately transformed into something more valuable: redemption, reconciliation, the chance to build anew. The silent sentinel who had watched from the shadows for 8 years could finally step into the light, not as an agent of vengeance, but as a father, a friend, a man reclaiming his life one day at a time. Standing on the sidewalk outside the cafe, Wade looked up at the clear Colorado sky, feeling the warmth of the sun on his face. For the first time in years, the future held more promise than pain, more possibility than regret. "Ready?" Brooke asked, gesturing toward their next destination. Wade smiled, genuine and unguarded. "Yes," he said, "I think I am." And there you have it. Another story comes to an end. What did you think? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoy this story, consider joining our community by subscribing. It means the world to us. For more stories like this one, check out the recommended videos on screen. And I'll see you there.